hearts lost in code. Twisted minds in overload. Unfornicated decodes, shattering the fragile abode. Whispers in the endless void, chasing ghosts they can't avoid. Words born to be destroyed, reality they've never deployed. Eyes wide, truth may laugh at the lies they can't unmask. Unfornicated with the last, shatters mirrors, trick and cast. Feeding on the threadbare clowns, echo chamber sounds abound. Unfornicated won't be bound, tearing myths from the ground. Scrolling feeds of endless dread, truth and lies fight in my head. Echoes of a war unsaid. I'll stand strong, won't be misled. Won't be misled. Bots and trolls with red pill lies, whisper secrets in disguise. I'll see through their hollow cries. Cut the strings, I'm breaking ties. Unfornicated won't be played. Their twisted games, I ain't afraid. Oh, truth won't fade.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Unfornicated. Just like the last stream, just like this stream, we have technical issues. So I think I know what the problem is now. Now I need to fucking fix it. But I digress. We have a little bit of a special change tonight. It is short notice for that. I do kind of apologize. Apparently, when you're discussing about doing a collaboration with somebody from Australia, you should reiterate what day it is in your time zone, not in theirs. So this was originally scheduled for Saturday. And come to find out in Australia, today is Saturday right now, actually. And I was thinking it was going to be tomorrow. So we're doing it tonight. Why not? Let me bring on Cope over here. I'm going to do a quick, I don't need to do that. Hold on a second. Now look, see, because I had to restart everything, I had to change up everything. Let's try this. Hey, Cope.
How you done?
You there? Okay, hold on. Let me make this full screen here. And then we're going to take me off because I don't need to be fucking be on this goddamn thing. I'm already over here. So let me go ahead and move this over here. And there we go. Whoops. Hey, everybody, say hi to Cope.
Hey guys.
All right, cool. And you're showing up on the audio, even better. That's a plus. Let me down that a little bit though, because you're a little loud.
Oh, that's it. That is handy. I'm coming up on audio.
Yeah.
I went to a bit of trouble to make sure everything was working first. So here we are.
Look, if it's not technical difficulties, then why the fuck are you really here? I mean, you're here to watch the manic. Well, let's put it this way. If I was on camera and you see me running around, it would have been hilarious. Like, I should really put a GoPro on the dog as she follows me everywhere, and you guys can watch me just like lose my shit right before a stream trying to get everything done. Cheers, Cope. I have a double shot of rum now after that fucking mess.
Yeah, I've already got started on the morning copium, so.
Right. Well, Cope, let me just say first and foremost, that is a stylish shirt you got on. And it is 23 degrees Fahrenheit here, so I am in a hoodie because it's cold. Meanwhile, Cope's in flip-flops and his shorts.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, so, yeah, I thought we'd just have a little chat about different things and things that come to mind. I keep hearing things across the Flirt-Em world, so probably won't hurt to address a couple of these things. And I think the first one I'd sort of mention was ionosphere, which they seem to think is the dome. But yeah, there's something about which just annoys me. Actually, it's something about what they say is what it's annoying me. So I'm just going to share my screen.
Just before you do it real quick here. Let's talk real quick about some of the things that are kind of going on for them. So I want to talk about kind of like this weekend as a whole, because this weekend is actually we're going to be putting up a Christmas tree. We're going to be doing some things like this around my house. However, I am going to be streaming on Sunday at my normal time around 4:35 o'clock my time. So that's Eastern time, whatever it is in your time zone. Do the math, figure it out. And we're going to be talking about sunspots because a new clickbait article came out thinking about sunspots in the Carrington event. I know something you and I talked about briefly offline, which was a very, very the largest magnetic storm, and it caused all sorts of problems. And why it's not all doom and gloom, and why well, let's put it this way. Instead of reacting to conspiratards, we're going to preemptively attack conspiratards. So that's not this stream. That's going to be Sundays. This stream with Cope, we're going to be talking about, well, derp, because there's a lot of it. Specifically, we're going to talk about HF, VHF. We're also going to talk about margin of errors and I'm sorry, HF, not VHF. And one of the things we're also going to be talking about, because it kind of relates to HF, is going to be the Europa Clipper, which Cope has some knowledge about as well as I do. So we're going to tie it all into a very underp stream. It's a learning stream today. So drink heavily, take notes. There will not be a test. So, yeah, let's go. So go ahead and share your screen and I'll go ahead and, I'll put it up here. This is going to be interesting. How am I going to do this? How do I keep you on stream and put up the whiteboard at the same time?
That could get interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to watch your stream. You'll just be very small down here at the bottom.
That's fine.
Can I move you? No, I cannot move you. No. All right. Let's go back to the screen. There we go.
Not without killing everything. Yeah. I'm small down the bottom, like you said.
Yeah. I try to see if I can move you into like a pop-out window, but it's going to be one of those days where I need to up my game a little bit here because, yeah, I need to get like Zoom or something else like everybody else has because my shit's all stupid. I'm on the I'm on the free plan for streaming today.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the derp that you've seen, and one of the things we are going to talk about is going to be margin of error and why it's not a personal attack on Kevin. But we're going to be talking about a few different things of those things where we're going to bed. Let's talk about what you have up right now. This you have up some things. Where are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about. So we're talking about radio waves and ionosphere. So we're going to talk about HF.
Yep. So this starts with HF. Now, this aircraft you can see is called a Caravan. These have gone out of service, but they were being used by Australia for a very long time. Now you can just see that thin little line.
Yep.
Running from up this zone and ending up down there.
Yep.
I'll just change this. Now, this is the view straight on the cockpit. This is the mounting point for that long wire antenna.
Right.
Just kind of give you a context. It's not very big. I have tripped over that personally, so I know what they're like. This aircraft is Australian owned, and I have worked on that one. So if we ever pulled out the archives, you'll find my signature on this aircraft documentation. It's interesting that they chose a HF because these aircraft used to fly out of Sydney, out of Darwin, Townsville, and they all go up to PNG. So in PNG, they go up in the mountains, and this is basically your lifeline if you have an accident up there.
Right, because when you're up in the mountains, your line of sight is now shit.
Absolutely no line of sight.
Right. So you have to do what we did in the Navy when we were on a ship and things go over the horizon because the world is a sphere. Where we had to start bouncing things off down a sphere to get over the curve. So makes sense. And for those who never wondered, like, or if anyone's ever looked at a plane and wondered what is that wire that goes from the tail all the way to like the center of the fuselage and everything else. This is exactly it. This has been since World War II. We've had these.
Yep.
So, all right, it's over to you,
so,
Cope. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you. So, with regards to these radios, they had a high frequency, some HF system ran from about 3 megahertz up to 30 megahertz. That whole system was intended to work over those ranges, and they needed to use the ionosphere. Now, I'm just going to jump quickly to a side topic, which is around the critical frequency. Now, this one is often overlooked.
Well, okay, so real quick, before we go into critical frequency, so for those who don't know, when we're talking about the 3 to 30 megahertz, we're talking about ionosphere, which is the area of the atmosphere that's charged from solar radiation, and it has multiple layers, and basically use that to skip radio waves over the horizon, over obstacles and things like that. And for those who think it was an ad hoc, post hoc kind of explanation for Marconi, you'd be wrong. So what this is something that we've actually studied. It's something that we actually daily take measurements on, and something we actually try to forecast. What this allows us to do is, well, especially from a military standpoint, from my use of it, was more or less along the lines to understand what my day was going to be like. Is it going to be shitty or is it going to be decent? And we measure this daily with balloons, with radio suns. We also do frequency scans through there to see what reflects. And this all goes into like a communications kind of forecast and plan that allows you to understand how these are going to be used. So before a pilot goes up, or before a radio operator in a plane goes up, or before a ground-based radio operator takes his shift, we already know what our day is going to be like based on, for sake of another word, a weather forecast. So when you talk, so explain what a critical frequency is first.
Now, for a critical frequency to occur, sorry, I'm just watching Dan's video and I'm sort of being a little distracted. Okay, so for a critical frequency, we're looking at the frequency at which the ionosphere stops refracting the wave. That's a really important point. Now, in the HF range, it doesn't happen, but if the ionosphere's conditions aren't right, it can still punch through because the ionosphere is no longer reflecting or refracting wave. This is an example of the modern way we do it because we've got satellites that monitor this. We can actually see what's going on day to day, hour by hour. But in the earlier days, and the time when I was working on those aircraft, we had to go and get a printed chart, which showed us the ionospheric conditions, and we get an idea if we would get a skip from PNG, which on this map is actually, let me find the right tool. I do love working with the whiteboard. I lost my tools. Here we go. Highlighter. Let's see if we can see. So Sydney is around this area. Everyone see that little circle? It's very fine. I'm sorry about that. So Sydney's around this area here, and PNG is up here. Now that distance is the best part of about 3,500, 4,000 kilometers.
Okay.
Definitely not something you would do if you were at the wrong frequency or the wrong time of day.
Right.
You actually had to use these charts to help you determine if you were going to get enough refraction to enable it to bounce its way down towards Sydney, or to bounce its way down towards Darwin or Townsville. So Darwin's up there and Townsville's over there.
So you're basically trying to communicate with 3 ground sites through a plane using HF frequencies, and you're trying to figure out, for sake of another word, a communications plan. You're trying to identify what frequencies are going to be reflected and what are, let's call them, based off our mathematical models, what kind of a skip we're going to get, whether it's going to be, because there's different skips. It doesn't just reflect like a mirror straight down. I mean, some frequencies will, depending on the day, but and the time of day and the season and things like that. But some will reflect straight down. Some will actually carry up and over through the ionosphere a little bit and drop down. And then some, like you were talking about earlier, when you get to the critical frequency, actually ends up punching through it. So there's a very specific frequencies that change daily, and even hourly, depending on what's going on and things like that, to identify. So when we talk about military communications, we have the primary and we have a backup. And on days where we anticipate things are going to be, well, let's just say less than normal, we have a backup and a backup to those backups. So you always have a plan A and B, and then sometimes you have a C and D and E, depending on where things are going. Is that the best way of explaining it, you think?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So one of the things to consider, the index for refraction varies directly proportionally to the frequency. And you get this point where you actually end up at the critical frequency and it stops refracting or bending along. Now, I forgot to include a diagram for this one, which shows this a little bit better, but I can very quickly diagram this out on the whiteboard. Effectively, what we need to think of is, if this is the ionosphere, and sorry, I drew it flat, sorry. And this
It's
is
okay.
your ground.
We know it's not flat. It's okay. We're assuming a very localized flat area. That's all.
Yep. So with your signal, whether you're on the ground or in the air, you actually need it to go up. Now, what they've identified is the way this works is that the signal may refract a couple of times as it comes back down. So you get this very distinct curvature there, and it ends up having a virtual height. As this side would continue up as a straight line, or terrible straight lines today, and this side would be like a straight line coming back down. So it has a virtual height and a reflection, but that's actually been refracted. I'm hitting things on my desktop, going everywhere, and it comes back down. So it's quite possible for the right conditions for you go for it to enter and follow further before
Right.
coming back out. And this is one of the things that is not well explained. And I think the people who insist that we're hitting some kind of dome at the top, they've really misunderstood how this works. Now, installations like HARP, they're some of the pieces of equipment which are used to identify what the ionosphere is going to do today.
Right.
And it's those thousands of experiments and data points that now allow us to produce these kind of charts. And this is just satellites observing the ionosphere's ionization levels.
So
that's it. It's actually pretty straightforward.
So as we're looking at this, at this picture, this map, right, as this forecast. So what we're actually looking at is the frequencies that things are going to be reflected. It's giving us a picture of what the ionosphere is doing. Now, if you notice, for those who can, kind of sense themselves in 3D, you'll see that there's a very much a patch in the middle and then two patches on the side that are very identical to each other. So the patch in the middle is very different than the patches on the side. For those who don't know, that's a day-night cycle because the ionosphere shrinks at night because there's no solar radiation. And during the day, it expands and has, what is it, 3 or 4 layers? I forget what the count is. It used to be 4 layers when I was in, and I think they changed it a little bit because of the different ways they define it.
Yeah, the definition, I think, has got it up to 5 or 6 layers. And that kind of depends on how strong the magnetic storms are coming from the sun. So the more material you have, the thicker the ionization layer. But just to help everyone understand, there's a frequency of 14 megahertz. There's a patch that matches it.
So that's the critical frequency that would pass, or that's the reflective frequency?
Okay, that's reflection frequency based on this map.
Okay.
But this is also based on a real time I picked up about an hour ago.
Okay.
But you can see, because you can see the frequencies, you know where they're going to actually bounce, you can identify the parts of the sky they're going to work for you. This side at night, yeah, you can see its frequency range is 4, 3, 5. So it's all down in the 3 to 5 megahertz in this patch just here, that funny looking color. And you can definitely see the difference between night and day.
Right.
Because of that.
Now, things like this for me is a fucking nightmare because I'm colorblind. So when you circled that little patch in the middle of that green, so it's yellow on the outside, it's green in the middle. I think there's orange in the middle of that green. I can't see the fucking orange. So this is where someone like me has to go to someone like my daughter and say, how many colors do you see? Because I don't.
Yep, that is a disadvantage. You actually have to have this produced in purely grayscale.
Right.
To pick it out.
Well, they used to be sent out on faxes too. So all you got was grayscale back in the day. Yes. Cope and I are both old.
Pretty much how it worked.
We used to get some of our forecasts by fax or teletype.
Yeah. I go back far enough into the 70s. There was a magazine that came out monthly, and they had basically a computer printed out chart for this, and it was just a series of ones, dots, and zeros all over this chart. And you look at it and went, oh, this frequency in that point. So it's quite different to look at it now. This is almost the entire planet, and you can get an idea of when you're going to get skip and when you won't. Yeah,
because a lot of ours were originally just regional. So they would only be for a specific region or a smaller area. And when you're dealing with, like for instance, on my deployments, if we're around Japan and in the Western Pacific, so we're on the right side. But let's say we're going to the Western Pacific, but we're over here by Hawaii in the Eastern Pacific transitioning over. You used to have to request 2 different reports, and even then you'd have to request multiple reports because they didn't always cover as much as what you're going to be covering. So it's a thing. Let's put it that way. It's this tool right here is a million times better than the shit we had to deal with since even something as long ago as just the 90s. That tells you everything you need to know, really.
Yep. So I got away from the Air Force back in '93, and we're still using those older style charts then. Yep. It was kind of fun. So back to this thing here, I went through very quickly through a derivation, and the derivation has to be collated on top of this. So you'll understand when it reaches critical frequency. But for people who communicate with the moon or any of the satellites, they're all up in the S-band, C-band,
Right.
well up in frequency.
UHF.
So they never get affected by this. Not quite right. They do get affected, but nowhere near as much.
Right.
And the higher up in frequency, the less the impact.
Right. And
Okay.
we talked about kind of like this, we're talking about the like bistatic radar for stealth and stuff like that, and how you can, possibly create small differences in a signal. Like the ionosphere still causes signals on GPS and stuff like that, but they're small. And then we have error corrections and things like that to kind of account for those things.
Okay. So you said you wanted to go into Clipper.
So yeah, so here's the thing. Like HF is something that that the military specifically and a lot of civilian worlds have used since the 1940s. So we used HFDF, which is HF high frequency direction finding. So a lot of the U-boats and even upwards of the 90s and 2000s had a lot. HF is like the frequency you can kind of count on no matter what. It's longer line of sight. It's for long, it's for long distance communications. And while you couldn't always listen into the communications, you could at least direction find and triangulate what the source is. So if you're looking for a new source that might be command and control, or you're in a new, what we call the AOR, like we're in the Gulf and we think we know where everything is, we're always scanning frequencies to look at possibly, who's using what. And we might find a new location. And now we need a direction finding to find out where that location is. So we go out to different sites. They use what we call an elephant cage antenna. They've now been all decommed. They use interferometry now. But the elephant cage that they had was like this very large circular cage. It was like 300 meters wide, or 100 meters wide, excuse me. It was a football field, basically. And it had this huge antenna all the way around. I'll pull up a picture of it in a little while. But it's what we called it an elephant cage because you literally could put elephants behind it and they wouldn't find their way out. But HF has always been frequencies that people use for long distance. It's always been used for trying to triangulate where people are from a military point of view. And also, it's been used for over the horizon radar. So radar is typically in the UHF band. We're talking about the S band and K band and X band. These specific letters are specific bands within like the UHF frequency, and I believe it starts bleeding over into SHF, but don't quote me. It's been a while since I've looked into it. But so UHF is line of sight. It is subject to refraction, as we talked about, and it has the radar application is always a return. When we talk about over the horizon radar, we have to now drop that down to an HF frequency. So while UHF is very good at telling a reflection, because it's such a small wavelength, it's easy to reflect and things like that, and reflects off anything physical. You can get a bearing, you can get a distance, and you can even get a speed. Now, there's some passive systems where you don't get as much information, but when you deal with like HF for over the horizon, you're kind of getting a blip, and that's it. You're not getting a lot of information because the information, it's not very granular. You can get a blip saying you have a target over the horizon, but you might not be able to differentiate between 4 planes in formation or a single plane. It's because the wavelength is so large, it doesn't separate between the two. But as they get closer and the higher wavelengths are being used, now you get a little more granularity. Now, there's a shit ton of math and variables that goes into this. I'm trying to keep this at a very high level to kind of make it an easier explanation. So HF is one of those things that has a lot of uses. And one of the things, I'm going to go ahead and stop your stream right this second and bring you back up. One of the things that I learned recently was about the Europa Clipper. Marcus, let's see. or we take an educated guess and occasionally get lucky. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There is that too. That does happen quite a bit. Not gonna lie. Because as with most forecasts, I'm not always right. And also, GPS gets phase errors due to ionospheric effects. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name of that, but you're absolutely right. That's exactly errors, and we account for those and do things with it. So one thing I learned is that the European Space Agency, ESA, launched the Europa Clipper. And while, we have a shit ton of conspirators out there talking about HARP, and Cope mentioned that briefly, freaking out about VLF and HF and all these other frequencies that they don't understand. NASA is actually using 2 different frequencies for Europa to see if there's an ocean under the ice 30 million miles away. This is how cool this is. It's real electromagnetic engineering versus YouTube basement dwellers. Okay, this is how it's going to work. So Reason uses 2 specific frequencies. So it's an ice penetrating radar. So it's using HF, which is 9 megahertz. That's for deep penetration. It reaches into or through the ice and hits the ice ocean boundary that we suspect is there. So because the ocean is liquid, because the ice is solid, it's going, and because the medium says different density and everything else, it's going to cause a very high reflective surface for us to be able to get a signal off of, which is great. It's going to tell us if it's there, but it's not going to give us much detail about the surface and things like that. So the VHF, the 60 megahertz one, that's a higher bandwidth, and it's going to be high resolution, and it's going to be not only surface detail, but it's also near surface detail because it doesn't penetrate all the way down through what we expect the ice, how deep it's going to be and stuff like that. So a lot of the information we have regarding Europa is based off of measurements, inference, and maybe a little conjecture, but generally speaking, we're basing it off of a lot of math. So their design was to use these 2 frequencies in a very kind of like unique and novel way. So one is to penetrate and find out how deep the ice is. And the other one is to basically have near surface and find out what the ice is made of and what else is in it. So it's kind of like a dual kind of use to kind of get a really good radar. And that's just one of the hundreds of tests that they're doing with the Europa Clipper. And it's the same basic principles as radar as a whole. It sends out a pulse, it listens, and you measure how long it takes to get back, speed of light, and you can figure out distances. So, hold on, I'm just getting caught up here. The fact that the magnetic field of Earth reaches out further on the night side due to solar winds. The nearest equator, you get the smaller dish you would need. But at night, the magnetic field interface with geostationary satellites, so you end up needing a 1 meter dish at the equator to get 11 to 12 gigahertz TV at night. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. So yeah, all right, and you provided some of the specs. So yes, so it's a 55 watt antenna, and it's not a small thing, but it's very much engineered. It's very much, this is the plan they put together, and it's a great novel idea use of it because the largest part of the system is the dish, and the dish itself is going to be pointed at Europa and sending out the signals and things like that. But it's a small aspect of the satellite as a whole. But the biggest engineering thing that came with this is that it's designed to work within Jupiter's radiation shitstorm that its magnetic field is. So we'll be able to actually see if we actually do understand enough about the Jupiter magnetic sphere and how it interacts and how far it goes out, and also basically use this to see if we can take some measurements at the same time. So it's going to be very cool when it hits. I forgot what year it's supposed to. I think it's 2029 or 2030. But I'm waiting. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. So, but the interesting thing is they did a test as they passed Mars of it, and they found out that it's working. And that was earlier this year, I think in August or September. So that's a plus, because when you launch things, you don't always know they're going to work. You know, they they work great in the lab, but then you throw them onto a rocket, and who knows what you're going to get. And so I'm very excited about this. I mean, I don't know what you know about the Clipper per se, Cope, but there's a lot of different things that are sort of that are out there and be part of this, because it's going to be very interesting. And I'm really excited to see how this works and see what kind of readings we get, because I'm curious, unlike other idiots we know on the internet.
Just mentioning, can you hear me?
Oh, so the HF is it can penetrate 1 kilometer to 30 kilometers. And
Yep,
the
so
VHF
the
is
frequency range is there.
yeah, and the VH is 300 meters to 4.5 kilometers. So so the penetration has overlap, obviously, but no, it's only at 4.5, excuse me, not 45. So, but yeah. Voyager is just passing the 24 Cosmos 2. That's right. Voyager is now going to be 1 light day away. That means you come in on a shift, you send out your code, and you go home. And you come back the next day to find out if, well, you might as well take another day off, because you send it on Monday and you get a reply back on Wednesday. I mean, think about how far that is. That's the furthest thing ever launched, a man-made thing from Earth, ever launched from Earth, and it's still going. Now, granted, because of the distance and because of the wavelength and everything else, there's not a lot of information going back and forth, but ones and zeros, but it's still working. And that launched in, what was it, 77, 79? Do you remember? I think it was 77. Sarah Jones is saying, I'm very amateur, below amateur radio. That makes 2 of us. I'm not even licensed. Voyager was 77. Okay. You could interject at any time, Cope. You're still on screen.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's still here. Just tell me to shut the fuck up and jump in the middle here. Yeah,
I've got it.
go ahead.
I've got a clear dates. Voyager 2, August 77.
Okay.
Voyager 1, September 5. That's weird. They're back to front.
Oh, wow.
Just to confuse us all.
So Marcus Leach was in high school. I was 2 years old.
Yeah, what was I? I was in high school.
Oh, so you and Marcus,
Marcus, same age group. But what was actually? I remember those things going up. That was a lot of news around that time when they were launched, and they only had, I think, they had like 10 years to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And they put these things up, and the fact that one is still operational at this distance, and we're still getting data back, that's phenomenal in terms of the engineering. The fact they're able to get power to it.
Well, and they had to
read
cut
an article recently.
Yeah, they had to cut a lot of the power usage strictly to keep the cons online. So they were like, all right, we're cutting off the sensors, and because we're running out of juice. But I don't think anyone expected Voyager to be working this long, going this far. I don't think anyone ever thought it'd reach the heliopause or anything else like that. And just all the information we're getting is just stuff that, I mean, think about it. It was launched 50 years ago. I mean, 48 years ago. I mean, it's I don't know. It's mind blowing to me because it shows forethought. And at the same time, it's like those engineers. I mean, everyone talks about like you over engineer everything, right? And NASA takes that to an extreme.
Yep. Have you ever seen Mark Rober just talking about NASA engineers?
No.
Some of the stuff he talks about, he actually talks about the way they think is very clear. They've got it heavily documented about why they do things a certain way. An example is that they're not allowed to write code with recursive elements in it in case you don't break out of the loop. So your entire program can just be jammed up waiting for a recursion that never ends. That's an example of over-engineering. They also look at the electrical consumption versus the power and the wattage that each of the components have to dissipate. And they try to get that down as much as possible so they have the best possible engineering for lifespan, because they have high wattage components when they could have got away with a quarter watt. And I've seen that in telecom as well. The undersea, I'm getting right off the topic with this one, but the undersea transponders that would take your telephony signal and boost it and send it on, they were over-engineered in a similar way. They made them have a long lifespan. And that's what's happening. We're seeing these things continue to run purely because they spent the time to over-engineer the electronics packs.
Well, it's about doing it right. You know, it's like plan for today or engineer for tomorrow. And if your tomorrow happens to be 50 years in the future, so be it. The Voyager is one of those things that's always amazed me. In fact, I'm debating whether or not to get a Voyager desk mat just because it's within my time frame and it's something that I'm always reading about and enjoying reading about. And it's just, I mean, it's a cool device. I mean, there's a golden record on there full of languages that no one will ever listen to. And, you know, and directions on how to find Earth, you know, for the invasion. So, but while political
and about the idea of the invasion.
Well, and while political and nuances from 50 years ago kind of, you know, creep into the design and the purpose of Voyager and stuff like that, engineering's still the same. That's the part of it that I always enjoy. It's engineering is always standing on someone else's shoulder, improving it and moving to the next step, and someone standing on your shoulders and improving what you did and moving to the next step. So whether it's telecom like I am, or and you know, it's stuff that I was talking with Marcus about. Marcus has been in telecom for eons, I think, at this point. You know, he worked on things like ArcNet. He worked on things like you know, as a kid, or you know, you got to see that, and you got to work on standards. The same standards I'm working now, and the same standards that I was working with when things were T1s and T3s, or DS1s, DS3s, and SONET synchronous network, to asynchronous network now, where I have customers with 400 gigs. So I went from 1.5 meg circuits to 400 gig circuits in the span of 30 years. And it's amazing to me how that works.
Yeah. So I've been watching the same thing in my lifetime, starting from very low frequencies. You end up with fiber, which has currently no recognizable end to how much you can put through it.
Yeah, our problem is hardware.
I'm yet to see it.
Yeah, our problem right now is hardware. It's you know, it's the wavelengths that we use and the multiplexing that we use and things like that. And it's no, it's crazy. I mean, every day I go to work, it's like I'm learning something new. And if you're not learning something new, you're dead or you're fired. One of the two. But it's
fired one.
Oh, did he? Okinawa just decommed their Nortel SL100 telephone switch. Whoa. Okay, so I worked on a DMS 500. Now, for all those who don't know about telephony and stuff like that, the switches were the old. When you dial a number, it goes into the switch from your number, you know, via copper, and then the switch does translation on it, and it sends it back out to the other number, makes the connection. I'm using it very bluntly, very high level to make you understand. So the switch is interconnected with all the different trunks that go in from all the different businesses and homes and things like that that all get patched in. There's rooms of a wire mainframe that is 2 stories high and just wall to wall of different patch panels and wires and everything else. And the decomming of something like an SL100, the amount of copper that would come out of that would probably fund the military for some countries for a year. Was that the mechanical system? Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I vaguely remember looking at those things. I actually had a two-part switching mechanism. They
Yeah.
had a, when you dialed the old dial, it would actually chunk its way up based on the number of
Yep.
pulses that came through, and then it would rotate around, and that's how it used to patch it together. It's quite horrendous. I would hate to be the engineer that had to design that.
Yeah. And Marcus is just saying it's digital internally. So with Stover switches. Okay. The SO100 was even more modern than that. Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. So the DMS 500 was all digital. It was, there was fiber connections, there was copper connections, there's everything else. But that was my first foray into telecom back in '98. But of course, I was also in. This is back when the Telecommunications Act 1984 was kicking in, so you didn't have just one telephone company anymore. Now you had hundreds of them, all with different capabilities and different skill sets. And the fun part was when you go to the old ones, and you see some of the old ass equipment in there, and you're like, "Holy crap, that's my grandparents' age," and you just kind of point and laugh because our switch was digital because we were new. But they also had a 100-year head start, and we had to use all their infrastructure because, well, reasons. DMS was a digital multiplex system. Yeah. They also had a DMS 100, but the 500 is what we worked on, and specifically. And this is back when, telecom transport gear was like full racks for like one system. And it was ungodly. Now you can get them in cards that are 4 inches high and can handle so much bandwidth in just the one card. It's unreal. But a lot of those systems are going away. So a lot of the systems are now going to digital, going to asynchronous, and some like voice over Ethernet and stuff like that. So something to look forward to, something I'm constantly working on daily, trying to get rid of the old, what we call TDM networks or SONET networks, asynchronous networks. In the process of decoming one now that's been running for 30 years to where it's one of those things where you don't touch it, because if you do, you're not guaranteeing it's going to come back up. You don't turn it off and turn it back on anymore. It's you just let it run. It's like a kid on caffeine. Just let it run. Eventually, hopefully you have a replacement before it dies out.
Yeah, I haven't seen systems that need replacing for a long time, but where I'm working right now, we've got old systems. They are now saying get rid of the on-prem, let's go to cloud.
Yeah. Well, there's that too.
This stuff's just getting too old.
Well, do you remember the old AS400 mainframes from IBM?
Actually, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I've worked on something similar to it. There was a VAX, the one, the workplace I was at. There was another place that had an M204. Ancient technology.
We're talking about full 6 racks of a mainframe computer, and then all the connections that go into it, and requires huge rooms. And now, if you go into those same places, for example, IBM is out here in New York, and I got to see where Watson is. So Watson's supercomputer is in a room the size of a closet. Now, granted, there's more air going in and out of that room than out of a jet engine, but to keep it cool. But the room itself is a closet. And then back in the day, in 70s, 80s, 90s, or even further back, there would be like huge, almost warehouse-sized range to house all the equipment. It just baffles me how technology has evolved in that sort of realm between telecommunications, computers, from what it was and how it started to now. There's a video where someone actually went over the actual code for the Apollo. She goes over the code of the actual Apollo that was done and goes over it line by line. It's pretty cool if you're into coding.
Was that coding with D? She was one of the ones that did.
Yeah,
did
it may have been. I don't remember her name per se. I have it saved somewhere. I'd have to figure out what screen I have it on. But I was looking at it the other day, and I was like, holy crap. So that's Clipper. I'm hoping, Clipper's going to have some cool things. I mean, the cool thing about going to Europa is that it doesn't have any atmosphere. It has 100 trillionth, I think, of the atmosphere. It's some ungodly number. I think that someone equated it to that there's more atmosphere in a light bulb than there is in Europa. like an incandescent light bulb. So I thought that was pretty amazing. But that means that we're not going to have any of the problems that we do here with HF and stuff like that too. So that's advantageous in its own right. But all right, so enough about that stuff. Let's talk about because you've done a lot of this. Let's talk about measurement uncertainty. Like, and I know I want you to kind of maybe explain a little bit of your background for people who don't know. Actually, I mean, there's 13 people here right now. I would say of the 13 people, most are probably already subscribed to you. If you're not, you need to go over there and subscribe to Copium also. But if you are, then you already know what's kind of going on. But let's get a little bit of your background as far as when it comes to testing equipment and things like that, and how you learned about uncertainty.
Yep. Okay, well, for me, the whole idea goes back to when I joined the Air Force as electronics technician. We have equipment like multimeters, but then throughout the time I was with the Air Force, I got into something called PMEL, which you call PMEL. We call it the Brace Calibration Center, and we had to understand these kind of tables. Now, the uncertainty comes from different sources. If we're talking about mechanical things like a gauge block, they're made of metal, had to account for the change in temperature to the change in its size, and they would change at the rate of about 1 micrometer per degree C. Just as an example, we had other things like pressure testers. Pressure testers had a interesting idea, because the more pressure you put on them, the little pressure device, which is like about as big as this tip of this pen, would actually change shape. So we had a factor in that change as the pressure increased. These are the kind of things that we start looking at. So measurement uncertainty also comes from all our different manufacturers. How's that screen? It looks a little tiny. I think I might just see if I can magnify it a bit more.
Oh, let me go to full screen and see what we can see here. Hold on, let me see what we got. If you're on a phone, let me just first say I apologize. Yeah, there we go. That's probably a little better there.
Yep. Okay. So yeah, so bump up a little bit. Basically, this is an example of a multimeter, and you're using it. Now, most people just read this and not really care about it. But if you're trying to do precision measurements, you actually need to look at your accuracy on here. The engineers, when they design these, have to come up with these values to tell you how accurate it's going to be. Now, let's get this a little bit bigger, because I know there's a delay before the audience gets to see this. So just make sure you've caught up on the audience.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, I'm looking on a smaller screen, so if I can see it, I'm pretty sure most people can see it. So I think you're good there.
Yep. Yeah, cool. So now I've just bumped the size up a little bit more from what we were talking about. What I'm going to do is just start writing on this. What they haven't got on here is there is actually supposed to be a plus and minus in front of this. And put a bracket around it. So what they're telling us with this is we've got a percentage of whatever we read, plus a certain number of digits. And this is how you work out how accurate something is. So this is your uncertainty measurement. If you're measuring on the 5 volt range, 1 volt, then this is what applies. You get 0.025% plus, and at 0.025%, 1%, 0.1%, 0.01%. So it affects that digit of your reading. This is the thing that I had to learn a lot about. We had to take into account with measurement work. Now, if we did the calibration work, we'd always look for 4 to 10 times better.
Right.
If we couldn't get 4 to 10 times better, then we actually have to go through a more rigorous mathematical model to give the uncertainty measurements. Now, that occurs when you're talking to people in things like international measurements where they want to compare kilogram to kilogram.
Right, right.
Now it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and you have to go through a series of tests before you get your output. But this is this is the basis of it. Everything, mechanical, electrical, has about measurement uncertainty, and when you're using it, you have to take it into account.
So, and this kind of strikes into when we were talking about, like, Tuna and I were talking about the ILS measurement, and I know you gave me some information. Marcus Leach gave me some information, and what we're talking about is that some devices it's cumulative, so you just add it to each other, and some, because of what they're actually measuring, everything else, ends up being exponential, in which case it multiplies by that. So what you're talking about, something measuring just in this case, your example right here, you're talking about amps, milliamps based on voltage and, like in DC, AC power. So you're down to 4 or 5 decimal points as far as what you're measuring and testing and things like that. So that's a very fine granularity for margin of error, but it's still not zero.
No, it'll never be zero.
Because when we're talking about like the ILS and everything else, we're talking about like the difference between a radar altimeter and a pressure altimeter. And a pressure altimeter could be anywhere from 70 feet to 130 feet. Doesn't matter if you set it on, if you're on the runway and you're setting your altimeter based on what the runway is, it doesn't change the fact that it's measuring pressure and there's a certain margin of error into that. So it just baffles me that people don't understand, because you're talking about that's just one system. Then you have DME, which is this measurement equipment, which has its own measure of error. Then you also have the beam divergence, which has its own error. Then you also have the antenna alignment, which has its own error. You also have the transmitter location, which has its margin of error. I mean, like all these start adding up or multiply. And so after this, your margin of error is larger than the effect that you're trying to measure.
Yep. So I'm just going to take this a little bit further now. So drawing a little bit of a diagram here.
Okay.
One of the things that comes up, if you've got 1% resistors up on here, you can just summate them all together and just say, I've got 3% uncertainty for the gain of this circuit.
Right.
The other way to do it is to actually take the root sum squared. So we would end up with 1.17, I think, is the square root of 3.
Yeah.
% as the margin of error for the gain of the circuit. So
right.
this
Plus
is
or minus, right?
It's application. Yeah. And it's always plus or minus.
Right.
So if you expected this to have a gain of 100, you could be anywhere from 97 to 103.
Right.
Or you could be anywhere from 98.8 and up to 101.17. So that's how this works. You actually have to say that margin of error, and it's usually plus and minus.
Right. So I did some testing on some telecom equipment that had to go through thermal testing. So we had to test it down to plus 40 Celsius and minus 40 Celsius. So we had a chamber that we could set it up and everything else. And you had the thermal cycle. We had to go from plus down to negative and back up and everything else. And you're running a test during the whole time that it's going down. And you're running the test the whole time it's going up and coming back down, and see what kind of errors that you have while you're testing this. You're just testing to a loop. It's just sending a signal in, and it's measuring and coming out. And you're trying to see if there's any bit errors in there. And based on the bit errors, it has to stay under a certain threshold. Otherwise, it's not certified. And then you have to submit all these to all this testing, including the test cases, your methodology, and the results, and you have to submit them all as part of as a certification process with whatever you're doing it, whether it's Telcordia or any international standards that you're dealing with. And the irony is, and I found it specifically with this ILS, is that one system has, and this is where things, it kind of gets, I guess it's kind of counterintuitive. If you have one, like in that case, the ILS, where we have 5 different things that could be, and we're not even like, we're talking about, antenna manual alignment, we're talking about beam divergence, we're talking about distance, we're talking about altimeter, and we're even talking about things like refraction. Like we have 5 variables. Each one has its own margin of error. And each one is going to either be cumulative or multiplicative, or it could be covered up by something else. So, for example, when we did the sun calculator for the sun location, I knew that based on the equations that I put in, that I was going to get plus or minus about half a degree. using a true theodolite. But without a theodolite, if you're using like software on your smartphone, like I was telling everybody to do, I knew that the error, the margin of error for that software was going to be 1 to 2 degrees. So no matter what, but I still had to figure out what my margin of error was to make sure that what was it. So the half degree that my math is going to be absorbed by the margin of error of the theodolite. So therefore, I use the theodolite app margin of error as my margin of error as opposed to the math margin of error.
Just organising the couple of things. Yeah, the two things we've been describing around that beam for ILS.
Mm-hmm.
You do have a centre of beam. That's the expected direction it's going in. But you also have this beam divergence. It's simply a function of the antenna, the wavelength
Right.
combined. They will give you not a centre line, but it will spread out.
Right.
Now, radars are intentionally designed to have most of that beam fairly close to the ground
Right.
and a lot of the beam up higher. And of course, when you start talking about distance measurements, I'll just accentuate this diagram a bit further because a radar, sorry, bad line, would be way up in the sky, very little down here, and you're actually measuring the distance to an object on a slanted range.
Right.
And that's called slant range.
Right. For
So
ILS, it's
DME
glide slope.
works that way. But with ILS, you're actually trying to work out roughly where the center of beam is, and that's because the two beams overlap.
Right. But even that has a divergence in its own because it's not the same all the way through because the overlap near the antenna is going to be very, very small. But as they get further out, it doesn't stay small. It also overlaps all the way out.
This continues. Yeah, so as they go along, what they're calling the center of the beam is actually getting wider as well. So
Right.
we redid this diagram slightly. We've got a second radio beam in there, and this one center should be roughly parallel to the original, but it also diverges outwards. And you're somewhere between here and here for the entire thing, and what you think is the center is actually from here to here as well.
Right.
So I think I've shown that slightly. Yeah, okay, in here, you're off to one side, here you're off to out the other side, so your total width is here. It shouldn't be based on just the ones where the two overlap.
Right. Right. It's where the two
Only
overlap.
see it's hard to draw on the fly. Sorry.
Look, you're not Van Gogh, you're an engineer,
right.
and you're not using a pencil and paper, you're using a mouse and a whiteboard. So you're excused.
Thank you.
But no, I do the same thing. There's a reason why I asked the community to help me with drawings, by the way. It's because I suck at it. I do need to get, I do want to get a Wacom pad and pen so I can actually draw things better, but I'm not going to say that that's going to be any better than what my usual shit is. Because look, I do line diagrams for a network. I can tell you a logical diagram of a network, how it's laid out, and point out all the traffic and things like that, and all the pieces along the way, because I have to do it on a daily basis. But when you have to get me to get something artistic, there's a reason why I have an artistic daughter I turn to, because she does that shit. I don't. Yes, DJ Sarah Jones, you're absolutely right, sir. So a bit like how the variable light targets that change color to red, to white, and when they're in line, and then as you go up higher, they're you get more white, or you get lower, you get more red. So it's like, what is it? Red over red, you're dead. White over white, and too high, kind of the top. But
that's the landing light system.
Yes, yeah, ILS, or in the Navy, called the ball.
ILS, it's got a different name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's visual.
Yeah, that's right. You guys call it eyeing the eyeball. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for people landing, actually, I was around in Durham one year when we did the calibration of those systems. The equivalent of Federal Aviation Authority in the States, they're called CAA and now called CASA here. They've got a plane, they fly around. They were coming in doing these runs down on the end of the runway in Darwin, and instead of touching down, they take off again. They had extra measurements they would take, and they would actually identify if those beams weren't aligned properly.
That's pretty cool.
That's an interesting thing to actually have people do that.
So here's the part that, and this brings up a very, very valid point, and this is the part I kind of want to drive home that you just said, is there is a very specific plane that is outfitted to make these measurements, to do this calibration testing. And there's very much specific tests that they're doing for that. They're not just using a plane off the side of a runway of a regional airport, renting it and throwing it up there and saying, okay, try it out. Let's see how close we get.
Yep. Oh, I remember. Actually, I watched most of that discussion you had with Kevin, and it was just interesting with some of the things he was saying, because he was just right off the mark. He didn't really have a good handle on how any of that work was done. And he never thought about what would a standard aircraft look versus one that was designed to do that type of testing, because each airport has to have their equipment tested at least annually.
Right. And here's the thing too, and this is what I was trying to bring up, and I kind of brought this up in one of our, like one of our calls, and I may have brought it up during not the pre-meeting call, but one of the other calls, is for us to do this the right way, you would literally have to ad hoc put in professional receiving gear with antennas and an operator of the gear who's certified to be able to understand what he's looking at, and do the test in such a way to where they can get rid of some of those variables in the beam and everything else to find the actual signal strength, and do it multiple times to find out where it is and average it out and stuff like that. But that's $20,000 in gear. That's you're using an engineer and paying him his wage and everything else too. I mean, it's extraordinarily bad setup. Even doing that as an ad hoc design, you're doing it like kind of like what the English did with Battle of the Beams. They're throwing a civilian receiver that's not designed for this. It's not hardened for the temperatures that they're in. It's not made for the system. It's spliced into existing systems with antennas that may or may not be the correct size for the wavelength you're trying to measure. And you're just hoping to find something. That's why it's not a measurement versus that's why it's an observation. So yeah, it was just, when he first brought it up, I was just like, oh my God, there's so much wrong with this. I don't know where to start. And after the call, Toon and I had a rather long conversation where first we laughed, and after we got done doing that, we started breaking down some of the points that we're going to need to do. So we started breaking it down, looking into it and stuff like that. And yeah, it was fun. It was entertaining for me to kind of break that down into what it was, which was shit.
Yeah, well, just if you bring back up the screen again there, Dan, piece of kit I used to work on was called a HP 8902. It was a measuring receiver.
Yep.
This is the kind of gear you would actually have up on that plane.
Right.
Right. Now, this machine, as it stands in its current design, was going up to about 2.5 gig, and we put a frequency extender on. It could take us up to 26 gig.
What?
But this thing,
but the frequency extender doesn't that also add to your margin of error though, because of what it does?
Yes, it does.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes, it does. But this machine was pretty complicated, and we had to actually use it for measuring RF. We had to analyze amplitude modulation, distortion, and this would be getting used in the planes. And these are like $50,000-$60,000 worth of equipment minimum.
And again,
and that's not including.
You're in an airplane that's not necessarily designed. You're like holding it on your lap and hacking it into like the power system of the airplane, and it's not it's not a lab environment. Is what I'm getting at.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
these things, yeah.
No, go ahead.
You can
go
put
ahead,
equipment on the plane, but it's got to be specially designed. It won't work otherwise.
So, and this brings up something to think. So, like when you look at the first, sentence of this, it's that it provides accuracy and resolution of high performance power meter at frequencies from 150 kilohertz to 1.3 gigahertz. Okay, but if you add the converter, you can go up to 26.5. That microwave converter itself has its own margin of error. So it's going to skew. So when you're at the lower one, where it's 150 to 1.3, you're going to have a much smaller margin of error. But then it gets compounded or by the media converter or by the microwave converter on top of that.
Everything you add in that signal path will increase distortion, will mess up with modulation. So everything adds up.
Right.
So your margin of error goes from being, say, a few hundred hertz to 1000 hertz. That's quite normal for this type of gear.
Well,
When you're talking about the RF level, if the conversion system puts any power changes in, it'll actually change the power it receives.
right. And
So
something
that
as
changes that as
dumb,
well.
and something as dumb and simple as a BNC connector of the cable you're plugging into this receiver could add a larger error, margin as well.
Yeah, well, I'm just zoomed in on the actual plug now, so I see it's
Okay.
coming up on the screen. This is a N-type connector, and this was developed by the US Navy, hence it got the name
very
N
familiar
on
with
the
the screw
Navy.
types. Yeah.
Yep. Now, what's interesting is as you screw them on, you shave bits of metal off, and you get metal in there,
Yep.
and that actually changes their standing wave ratio. Any changes to that impact on your measurement. So now you've got to spend time cleaning the connectors up and connecting them up. There are new connectors, they're really small ones, they're SMC, I think they're called. And those ones had a spanner, you actually had to tighten it up with a spanner to get the right
the right torque on it and everything else. So that's the thing too. Like when you're doing these things, like part of your preventive maintenance is take off the connector, get 90% alcohol, get in there with a Q-tip and scrub everything down and blow it all out and everything else. And like I said, just anything in there is going to like you do that before you do the test. And then you hope that when you're tightening it down, it's not creating too many other filings that are going to outside what your margin of error is specifically to begin with.
Yeah, now I remember using vector network analyzer. We actually hooked a cable which had rubber pieces in it, and the rubber was covered in metal. Plugged it in, and the VSWR was just everywhere. It should have been fairly flat for this cable type, and it was just everywhere. So we grabbed a pair of pliers, pulled the rubber seals out, and put it back on. Oh, look, it works now. That's the impact of a bit of metal in the wrong place.
And
totally destroyed the cable's use.
Well, yeah. But I mean, but that rubber is going to be like, like I said, the metal gets ingrained into there. There's sharp little shards that are into there, and it creates a short. It creates anything else in there that's going to cause you to go over. And Marcus brings up a valid thing here too. He talks about the fact that it is that's before any other equipment is interfering. Like you're still going to have is this shielded? I mean, I'm assuming if it's a lab environment, you have shielding around it. If it does, it has some shielding within itself, but it's also going to be shielding around it to prevent, you are making your measurements away from the actual equipment to be interfered with. So that's what we did in the lab. It's like where you're doing your measurements is like the equipment's over here and your cable's over here, and you try to keep the cable as short as possible to help, reduce margin of error. And at the same time, you're also trying to keep it away from interference, whether you're behind a lead wall or behind some sort of metal shielding or something like that, just to keep the EM from actually interfering with the signal and things that you're reading.
Yeah, the other one that was a big one for labs, especially around electrical, was something called earthing and guarding.
Yeah.
If you took two plug points and put them far enough apart on the bench, it would go up into the roof, off to an earth point, and come all the way back again. And the two pieces of equipment are at different electrical potentials.
Yep.
And you get noise from that. You can actually blow up some of the newer equipment just by exposing it to a bad earthing connection.
Oh yeah, and then you like the grounding, depending on the grounding you have, like we use big number 2 cable, and we use you're scraping paint, you're scraping, you're putting what the hell's that stuff called? I only know derogatory names that we call these things. You're putting the goop on the not only on the wire before you put the connector onto it to prevent oxidation and stuff like that, but you're also putting it on the ground that you're screwing into the rack because you don't want that to oxidize behind it and everything else. So I forget what it's called.
It sounds like an anti-seize.
Yeah, it's like an anti-seize, antioxidant sort of thing you used to just brush off.
Yeah, so one of the other things we used to do a lot of time in, some of the electronics were so sensitive, you actually had to use a curve tracer to pick up two transistors that were the same. So it was very manual. Plug the two transistors in and flip the switch, which you can see. Where's my mouse gone? If you look here, the switch just here is the one that we're talking about. You plugged an attachment into those ports and you'd flip between the two transistors until you got a curve that matched. So what we're looking for when we flipped is that this curve and the curve of the second transistor were matched up. So this is something that a lot of people don't think of. To repair the electronics, if you didn't get a match, it wouldn't work properly. I just saw my name flash past. Patch. Yes, the signal balance has to be right, otherwise you're not on the center of the beam.
Right.
But that still has a broadened area on it as well. The last thing I was going to show very, very quickly was mechanical devices. They actually have their own errors as well. Just this last thing is a lot of people don't think about this. The derp idea that measurements are exact. It's not true. Even the manufacturer tells you that for a range of 0 to 25 millimeters between the jaws, you've got plus or minus 4 micrometers. That's really important because
Right.
you have to take that into account when you're using it. If you're trying to make things that fit together and you don't take this into account, you could undersize it so much it's too loose, or you could oversize it so much you can't assemble it.
Right.
So that's why measurement uncertainty is so important. And then this, I think, gets missed by the flat earthers and conspiracy people purely because they haven't looked at this.
Well,
and yet the manufacturer gives you this for a reason.
to be fair, and everyone in chat can yell at me because I'm gonna defend a conspiratard here, and I'm gonna say that the reason why they don't understand this or know this is because they haven't done it. I don't know how else to say it. Because it comes when you who was it that said that experience is a teacher of all things? I think it was it Julius Caesar or somebody else said it. It basically comes down to, and this is something that we always did in the lab as an engineer and stuff like that when we were making stuff. It's like, great, it works in the lab. Give it to Dan so he can break it, because he's going to do it in the field. He's going to apply field knowledge and field variables into this, and we're going to make sure that it still works. Because margin of error is great when you're working in a nice clean lab with no static and everything else. No, I'm there with no ESD. I'm there with no ESD wrist strap. I'm there with, I'm there with the thermal chamber saying, yeah, we're good to 40, but what happens if I go up to 45? So there's always that plus minus hysteresis that you have or it's like, if you say that you're rated for 40 degrees, like neg 40 Celsius, well, chances are we tested it to neg 50, neg 55 or something like that in the past then. But our documentation will only say neg 40 because that's our standard. And this is something else that, again, Kevin didn't understand when we talked about the ILS system. It says, yes, DME systems typically work 10 to 12 times better than the FAA standard of 0.6 nautical miles, which he thought was a typo, which was actually just plus or minus 0.3 nautical miles. That's kind of how we deal with it, right? So wasn't a typo. It's a 6 nautical mile margin of error, which means plus or minus 3 or 0.3. So the idea of this is that that's the standard. That means that's the one that everyone has to go to. Other airports could go better and probably do go better, but that's not the standard that they go to. If they go better, it's like, great, it's a great day. We did better, but each airport's going to be different. And one thing I want to show, and I want to appreciate Marcus for doing this, and now I have to go find it again since I had to restart everything. Whoops, I just closed Discord here. All right, I'm going to take you off a screen here real quick.
Yep. That's fine, mate.
No, I'll bring you back on. I just need to, I need to go into my thing here. And Marcus. Let's see, we're doing some derp stuff. Okay. Now I'll bring you back on. Go over here. Cope. Over here to full. Oh, I could have done pop out. That would have been much easier. All right, so we'll transition this back, and then whoops, I'm going to share my screen here. Whoops.
So yeah, I'm good, thank you.
There we go. So, oops. So This is something that he got from a friend of his at NavCan, Nav Canada. Talks about the ILS integrity classification. So there's 3 levels: Category 1, Category 2, Category 3, Level 1 and 3. And they have different runway distance labels that they measure to. So you have E, which is 2,000 feet from the stop, D, which is 3,000 feet, the threshold, and then outwards from there. But A, the farthest that they measure to is at 4 nautical miles from the localizer, not 20 nautical miles. And if you look through this is from September 2025. And if we look at the way these are presented, so this is the point along the extended runway centerline where the localizer and glide path signals are performing within Cat 3 tolerances. You see this point E here. So we're looking for anything that's going to be point A, anything more, anything less than E or T. And when we look through these, all I see are not assessed because ILS is working its way out via the GPS and things like that. MLS, the microwave version, was never actually implemented within North America. But we have one site here that's at D, one site here that's at the threshold. Let's see, everything here is set at E, everything here is set at E, E. Oh, here's one set at B. So Toronto, runway 06R. Is measured at 0.56 nautical miles out. Ease. So the only airport in all of Canada that has the ILS assessed at the furthest point is at 0.56 nautical miles, not 20.5 nautical miles that Kevin was accounting for. Yeah. If the margin of error didn't screw them up, this would. Like, there is nothing about this that was thought out. Now, we talked briefly about when I put together my white paper, and so I started working on coming up with an experiment once I found out that I was going to be confirmed. That was back in like the middle of September. And I had like a month, I had like 6 weeks to work on it. Now, I do have a full-time job, so I didn't spend the whole 6 weeks on this, but I did put in some effort. Now, for those who are going to ask why I put the effort in, just, I'm trying here. I probably shouldn't have, knowing what the audience was going to be, but I wanted to know that since I was going to have a larger platform than what I'm used to, people can see the amount of rigor that I go into when I do my engineering and I go into my ideas, go into my research, so to speak. There's a certain level of research and accuracy that I expect out of myself. And to put it bluntly, my own margin of error, to make a joke of it. So that's why I did it. And I sent that white paper over to specifically 2 people. This guy over here and the one down in the chat who is Patch Von Braun, or known as Marcus Leach. And I had them look at it and read it and say, where am I host? Okay. As far as I'm concerned, my peer review. Now, I don't consider myself their peers by any means. That's why I also went to them to say, you guys are much better at this than I am. How far off am I kind of mentality? And both of you came back with the same thing. Solid, within a certain margin of error. Obviously the distances are going to change based on whatever measurements we make at the time of the test and stuff like that. But I covered every base, so to speak. Do you recall when we were starting to go through that?
Yeah. I had a read of the pages and I thought, you mix metric with Imperial.
Yeah. Look, that's how you know it's not AI. Okay, when I start mixing, because for those who don't know, my telecom life is metric, and when I'm not at work, my life is Imperial. So a lot of shit that I do is some weird amalgamation of both. But yeah, you're right. It was ugly. And but I tried to have like a board, actual, like I tried to build this out into a at least a framework or a starting point of a true white paper for a scientific measurement experiment. I wanted to go into margin of errors. I wanted to go into methodology. I wanted to go into type of equipment. I wanted to show the math and what we were going through and everything else. I mean, it's 41 pages long. And Marcus and Cope did me the favor of reading through. I don't think they checked my math per se, which I think they figured I had that under control. But they read the basis of 41 pages because I asked them to. So while you're here on screen, let me just sit there and say, Cope, thank you for doing that. I greatly appreciate it. And
Actually, I enjoy
Marcus,
doing it, Mark.
thank you as well for your efforts in that, because it wasn't just me doing work. The community as a whole was there to support me, back me up, and make sure I wasn't stepping on a landmine. So I appreciate that wholeheartedly. But that's why I love this community. That's why I love working in this community. That's why I love collabing with this community, because it's fun. You get to learn new things. You get to see different sides of it. No worries, mate. Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate that, Marcus, nonetheless. So yeah, I mean, and we talked about like the specific frequency. It's unlicensed. It's a specific band. Actually, I take it back. I did give the paper to somebody else. If you don't know, on Discord, his name is Bull Knight. He's an FCC licensed ham operator, and he gave me the idea of what was it? I think it was called a. I want to make sure I get it right. What was it called? The ARSB, ARBS, something that provided the digital signal that you knew it was your signal and not some arbitrary signal that you were getting when it comes to the squelch. It's a dongle that you put on the signal itself. It's like a digital handoff. I forgot what it was. I forgot what the fuck it was. I'm going to laugh because Marcus is going to just drop it right in chat and make me feel like an idiot. APRS. Thank you. APRS beacon. See, I knew he was going to do that. When my brain goes sideways, I have many of you guys easy here to reel me back in, and cheers. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I remember you saying that actually at the time. Now I started digging into this data myself. None of this stuff's hard to set up, but
No.
the only thing I've got is I have to have a license even at 8 watts.
Even in that specific frequency, I think it was like 476.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
See, and this is the problem we have with different countries.
Mm-hmm.
This is why someone from Austria presenting an experiment needs to take into account other things. Like, I don't know what the licensing is for Australia. Pope does. He'd be happy to tell me.
Maybe not today. It'll take too long. You got a couple of hours?
Yeah. Well, we won't discuss my research. I mean, how many times have you guys looked up on Discord and realized that I'm still online and it's 3 a.m. Eastern time if you did the math, and realized, why is Dan still up?
I think I told you to go to bed one night.
Yeah.
Did I? I think I did.
Yeah, you did actually, because I forgot what we were talking about, but something grabbed my attention and I was like, oh shit. And I got up and went to my computer and worked for an hour at 3 a.m. in the morning. No, I think it was earlier. I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it was a late night for me. It was a rough morning. And but that's the part that, like, my brain works on very weird time zones when it gets creative. Like, just when I'm starting to go to sleep, that's where like designs for a shirt come in. It's where stupid shit comes up. And if I don't, and I can't just write it down in like a notebook on a side table and go back to sleep, because chances are I'll forget what it is. No, I actually have to go start working on it and at least have some sort of a working prototype of sorts, whether it's a design or whatnot, ready to go, because that's just the way my brain works. So unfortunately, that's how, there you go. There's an insight into how I work. Maybe I'll take you guys around the apartment and show you where my pacing is, where the carpet's worn kind of thin, while I'm trying to think through technical aspects of it, or where the window is that I threaten to jump out of all the time. I don't know. I mean, there's a few different things I'll show you guys, but we're getting close to 500. I mean, last time I checked, we're at 457. So I would like to get to 500 before the end of the year. And I'm going to do a major push on this. I'm going to put out some stuff. I'm going to be putting out some parody commercials and be putting out some long form videos. I have not done a long form video in a long time because I do not like editing. It sucks. I know why Matt from Wetcast doesn't do it. Oh, 458. All right. Hey, I gained one. To my new subscriber, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, it's like the fact there's 458 of you who want to listen to me rant and rave about stupid shit is amazing. And it humbles me. I did not expect to be at this point. But for 500, I'm going to have a big drop. I'm going to have something, and I alluded to this in my last live stream. I'm deciding whether or not to be monetized, because to me, it's like, I have a full-time gig, you know, and in this day and age with inflation and the cost of living and stuff like that, my thing is like, don't give your money to me. That's just dumb. But at the same time, any money that I do get is going to go towards experiments. It's going to go towards making this stream better. God knows I could use it. But it's going to be, you know, it's going to be stuff that's going to be useful, and it's going to be transparent and stuff like that. It's not like I'm not quitting my day job to do this full time, because that sounds like too much like hard work. And my work is I get paid a lot to not have to think too hard sometimes. So if you have a job that pays you for an effort that doesn't drain you by the end of the day, it's like, I'd rather stick with that, because YouTube is draining. Listening to this shit is draining. Listening to people's live streams to find content and to find out what they're saying about me or somebody else is draining. I was in Sean Hawkins.
Slowed down watching the Jerp as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, the derp alone is enough to make your brain go smooth. I was in Sean Hawkins' stream a little bit earlier today, right before I had to get on. I got a phone call. I had to exit out. And he was covering Wankzoid. And Wankzoid decided to pop into chat and was calling everybody cowards and posting the link and saying, come on over and everything else. And calling Sean's live stream an echo chamber. We're not an echo chamber. There's a lot of things Sean and I don't agree on, but we're adults and we can actually like choose not to discuss it. We can choose to discuss the things we want to discuss. That's just the things that's part of the thing. But I made a comment that I felt was, well, it's true. And it's pretty worthwhile. I was talking about his radar horizon diagram that he made, showed on one of my live streams. It'll probably make the end of the year end of the year award ceremony. But it's going to be, I basically said that, you know, it was ridiculously hilarious, elementary at its absolute least. And I hung it on my fridge because that's where it belonged. Right next to my daughter's 5-year-old drawings.
Some reason I was thinking about something to do with flat soil. Oh yeah, one of the people I work with is from South Africa, and I mentioned the flatsoid name, and he looked at me and went, just the look. Didn't say anything, just this look. Like, oh, I gotta murder that guy. I said, it's funny, he lives in the Southern Hemisphere and he should be able to see the Southern Cross. How many times have I posted photographs of the Southern Cross? Lots of times.
Yeah.
Lots of times. And they have no idea what it is. My wife is from the Northern Hemisphere. She was lost for quite a while looking at the Southern Hemisphere, and these people we're talking about live in the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah. I can understand my wife being lost, but I can't understand them being lost.
And I'll tell you, when we crossed the equator and I realized that well, I mean, it's not like a coin flip. It's not like you get across the equator and all of a sudden the sky changes. Obviously it changes as you're going south. But once we started getting close to the equator and started getting more to, and even south of the equator, I was lost. I mean, I'm looking at the sky and it was absolutely foreign to me. I had not a fucking clue what I was looking at. And I'm just like, this is weird for me. Like everything I'm used to seeing, the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, and depending on what season it was, Orion, they're not in the same places, not in the same orientation. Everything looks different. Even looking up at the moon and seeing it, well, for saying the word flipped, fried my brain for the first week. I sat there looking at it like, that does not look right. And I couldn't figure out why it didn't look right at first. Like, why does the moon look weird? And everyone's looking at me like I'm strange. Okay, granted, I'm a 19-year-old kid who hasn't been south of the equator yet. And then it occurred to me, and I'm like, oh shit, it's upside down. Never thought about it.
Yeah, I remember the first time my wife got to see Mars from here, from the Brisbane area, and I said, there's Mars, there's this, and she just went, it's red. The planet is red. We've got so good a sky that we can actually see the color of Mars.
Well, your wife's not colorblind either.
It's called the red planet. No. That helps.
Yeah, all you astronomers who sit there and talk about it's yellow or it's green or it's blue or what the fuck ever else that goes on. Look, they're all shades of weird white to me. Okay, that's just the way it goes. It does not change. It's a genetic mutation. There's some genes that have been deleted when the X and Y chromosome combined. I blame my grandfather and my mother. So there's nothing I can do about it. But how someone like me ended up in telecom, which has a color code and wiring that's colors and stuff like that, is pretty weird and amazing, like how I'm still here.
Because some of the colors you would never see. Your cables like Cat 6 are colored.
Yeah.
Most cables, people are used to seeing blue patch cables. And then you got red, you got yellow ones, you can have other colors as well.
But if a cable's all red, I can kind of see that. That's not a problem. It's only when there's my biggest problem was not even Cat 5. My problem was doing fiber because they're very thin strands, and the paint that's on them, as we call it, the cladding that's on it, it's colored. Green and orange look very, very similar unless it's under direct light. So even if I'm doing a 6 fiber cable, it has blue, green, orange, brown, white, slate. So, like blue, green, brown, blue, orange, green, brown, red, slate. I forget. It's been a while. I haven't done actual wire wrapping in a long time. But the kicker of it was we would have to do 100 pair of cables. So each color code had instead of being white, instead of being like orange, white, and white, orange, it would now be part of the blue binder group. So it would be blue, orange, and orange, blue. Do you know how difficult it is to be a violet with a blue stripe and a blue with a violet stripe when you're colorblind? I told her, as long as I do both sides, we got a 50-50 shot of it working. If you do one side and I do the other side, we have a 100% chance it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to, I definitely want to make sure that I would love, you know what, hold on. I'm going to find something here. There's something on YouTube that was funny. So I watched a football game a few years back, and American football. Here we go. Oops, hold on. Let me back this up. Now, for those of you who want to look at what it's like to be colorblind, they came out with these jerseys. It's a green field. Okay. The one team is the Jets, who's wearing all green. The other team is the Buffalo Bills, wearing all red. Now, if you're red-green colorblind, somebody screwed with the filters, and this is what it looks like for a colorblind person. Okay. Let me show you what this looks like.
Yeah, the colour's already distorted. I can't see any red on that at all.
Welcome to my world. That is what it's like. That alone is that's what my life is like. Just so you guys get a little idea about what it is, the stupid shit I got to deal with. There you go.
But you're fine with this because you can see the logos on here.
Well, yeah, because it's red on black makes it easy. But like if you put a tree behind a stop sign and it's a brand new stop sign, it's a coin flip whether or not I run it. It's a fun day. Let's put it that way. But the worst part about it is because it is a green field as a background, and it just like it cancels out the reds, and it's so hard to explain. I've tried my best to kind of explain to my daughter, and she just kind of laughs at it now and just says, "Oops!" Like she still doesn't get it until I explain to her that if she has a son, her son has a 25% chance of being colorblind like me because of recessive genes.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a CRT TV like that. The red gun died.
What happened to mine? One of the chips in mine blew up, lost color. I had to open this thing up, find the chip, get it out, put a new one in.
I wouldn't know what chip it was.
Oh, I was lucky. My eyes were still all right then, and now everything's so small. It's a microscope to see it.
David says that sucks for stuff like this, but my designs are okay. You know what's funny is I mentioned this to somebody the other day. I think I mentioned it to Michaela about my designs. Is that I knew I wanted to use the Unfornicated name because it was funny to me. I knew I wanted something that was going to be kind of different than the ether cosplayers who are like everything's blue, their lighting is blue, they look like zombies and whatnot. And but blue is my favorite color too. At the same time, navy, and I wear a bunch of blue Hawaiian shirts and stuff like that. The one color I don't like ever, for reasons, is red, because I can't see half of it, and my entire channel is black and red. So. And it's just because the logo I designed was that international, stop sign of the circle, like it's one big no sign. And I just put Unfornicated across that. And I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'm stuck using red now. So, well, I actually don't like the color red, believe it or not. And my whole channel's red. So go to figure. I've come to like red now since I've been doing this. But thank you, D-Viz.
Nice.
My designs are, if you're talking about merch designs, those are, I have people to cross-check with. Like, I can't say enough how much I ask my daughter, like, do these colors, is this the same color? Or the eyedrop tool in GIMP is like my saving grace. Like, I want to match this color, and then I just have to drop it, and I don't have to guess what the hex code is and nothing like that. I just click it with the eyedropper and it matches it for me. I'm like, oh, thank God. I don't want to try to do this. There was an English commentator doing a snooker match famously once back in the 70s and said, for those watching in black and white, the blue ball is next to the brain. Yeah.
Yep.
You got to kind of almost describe it that way. You know what I mean? But no, I really wish that there's a way that I can like just lend out one of my eyes to like people to use for a day. Just one eye. So they can cover up one of their eyes and one of my eyes and just be like, what's it like? Because this is how bad my colorblindness was. There was a time in my life where I had to wear a shirt, tie, sometimes a suit, but generally mostly a shirt and tie, but usually a suit for my bigger meetings. And I had a system written on my shirts and my ties. So I knew what shirts went with what ties, and I knew what suits went with what shirts and what ties. So imagine that. I mean, like I literally had the equivalent of my name written on the back of my underwear on my shirts. So I knew what color it was and what it went with. So the artists who take like color theory and the color wheel stuff and all that stuff, yeah, no, that's never going to happen. But luckily, I have, like I said, I have people who have normal color vision around me who are helpful and don't do it just to fuck with me. But
That helps.
my daughter did play the "What's This Color" game for about 3 years when she got to be about 8, and she understood what it meant that I was colorblind. So she'd be like, "Dad, what color is that?" And I'd be like looking at her like, "I hate this game." Because
Well, she's stepped up since then, hasn't she? With the Zhu, was it Sun Tzu Art of War?
yeah, I probably should not have introduced her to that because it's going to turn on me in a heartbeat. Yeah, there was a comment in Discord for those unaware. My daughter asked me to give a shout out to one of her friends that she was playing a game with because he was watching the channel. Another high schooler. So I gave him a shout out, and he was in chat, and he's like, "Oh my God, I got a shout out." He was all excited. Meanwhile, my daughter was in the other room laughing maniacally because she found him and had killed him while he was excited and typing on stream. So diabolical, that one. Yeah, resistors and I don't resistors and I don't go well together. The color coded ones, no. If it's not printed with a number on it, forget it. Not happening. I have a vacuum tube radio and record player sitting in my garage that I'm trying to well, let's put it bluntly, get it up to code and get it working. I'm turning it over to somebody else with normal color vision, with more experience and everything else, because I don't want to electrocute myself. And there's certain things that I know my limits. I don't want to try to play guess what color this is on something like a capacitor or a resistor or yeah, or even a wire color. No thanks.
Yeah, actually, I remember you posted that one in Discord. You were talking about the vacuum tube machine. Yeah, they're a bit nasty. They can give you quite a good bite if you're not careful.
Well, it's a 1952 radio. I forgot, is it RCA or something like that? But yeah, it's I thought about just stripping the cabinet and making it all modern, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I have some really cool jazz vinyl and some blues vinyl that I want to hear that crackly sound of that shitty ass needle on it. Not the new stuff. I want that gritty sound. It belongs in that song, you know?
Yeah, I grew up with vinyls around me, so all my older brothers and sisters, because I'm the youngest of the family, and there's nothing but vinyls everywhere. So we had most of the latest music on vinyl. So yeah, I grew up crackly old needles. Then I started becoming a bit of an audiophile, and I end up with a really decent Luxman turntable. That was fun.
So I have always liked vinyl. Like I've never really, I mean, I grew up with 8-track cassette tapes, CDs, even MP3 players and stuff like that. But I love just the idea of like actually thumbing through a stack of vinyl, finding what you want to listen to, setting it on, putting the needle down, walking away and just listening. And my tinnitus prevents me from being an audiophile because there's a lot of frequencies I can't hear. One of them just happens to be my daughter's voice sometimes, coincidentally. Usually when she's asking for something, "Dad, can I have?" And all of a sudden I go deaf. I don't know. I can't hear her anymore. I don't know what happens. But having the vinyl to me, it's just a guilty pleasure. Now, here's the funny thing is I have 2 record players. I have a very modern record player that it has a red needle on it. It's what it's called. It's the model. It's, you know, it's a $500 record player. I never thought I'd ever own one of those. Like, what's the point? But at the same time, I have a 1952 one that's going to sound like shit, and I'm looking forward to it at the same time because it's just the act of it. It's like, you know, I was born too late. I can, you know, the Mad Men series, that era is like that's where I belong. What in God's name are you doing? Go away. Go away. No, go away.
Oh, it's the cat. Is it cat or is that Liv?
That's Liv. I heard a phrase,
Hi, Liv.
and she comes in. She said, "What's up, gang?" She came in and said, "I heard a phrase. Can I have 800 Robux?" And I'm like, "No." Roblox is one of our favorite things to play. Algorithm says, I
Oh,
imagine
Roblox,
it's like
yeah.
someone asking me to read an eye chart without my glasses. What eye chart? The one by the window. What window? Very much, much like that. It's like, oh, go look at the red one. What red one? Next to the green one. What green one? I had extensive vinyl collection until I moved to Vancouver in '93. And Sarah says, I do miss the trouble of the needle. It's like having an extra super tweeter off. Yeah, kind of. Trouble. Oh, terrible. Yeah. Algorithm says, that's called the supply and demand relationship. Your kids demand and you supply. No, 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 no. She's going to earn it.
Yeah, I'm just reading Sarah's next one about the vinyl cart matters more than anything. The tone arm balance and the weight of the platter. Yeah,
Yes.
they were important because the speed would change because it was a flywheel.
Yep.
The tone arm, if the balance wasn't right, I've actually seen tone arms skip.
Yeah.
Actually get on there and they just bang.
So the one I have
across.
has a variable weight on the back, and I actually have a tool that measures the weight of the arm, and I set it up so it's the right weight. It's an aluminum tone arm. It does not skip unless the vinyl shit and I played it too much. But that's beside the point. It is a Marvel engineering. What I love about it is that the platter is not mounted to the motor. The motor is actually mounted to the side of the platter, and it has a rubber belt between the two. And that was actually the main reason why I bought it, is because it looked cool.
Yeah, I was trying to think that
Mike and Max and Mike have all the stupid all at once going on. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah. So this stream, all right. I don't like to try to stream when Mike and Max are doing it because we all share the same community. Well, explains why we're down to 14 people. That's fine. The 14 people are here. I appreciate you more than I could say. But here's the thing. This, in my mind, this was supposed to be tomorrow night. And when I was talking to Copium, he goes, yeah, let's do it Saturday. I'm like, great, let's do it Saturday. Time zones suck, okay, when you're not paying attention. I need to learn that when I'm talking to Cope or DP or something, your Saturday or my Saturday, because there's a 12 hours difference here we need to account for. Or 11 to Brisbane. I don't know what it is.
It was like, actually, it's nearly 17.
Oh, 17 hours. Oh, yeah.
That's so from here to there is nearly 17 hours.
Yeah.
And
so
I
in other
remember
words,
losing a day of my life traveling to Vancouver.
So in other words, yeah, it's not even an easy number for me to figure out on top of my head. In fact, funny thing is, I have a note. There's a post-it note down here and it's kind of weird to show it on screen with the green screen, but it says DP equals plus 13.5. And that was for before November. Just so I knew when I was going to be waking him up or when I can expect to see him. All handle so much different. So Mike, did the first show up the Mike stream? That Matt Element guy? Oh, okay. Max has OTW and Mike has Matt Element, both lobotomy recipients. Wow, Lindsay, tell us how you really feel.
What's going on there, Lindsay? Can only handle so much derp at once. What, you're trying to watch those tunnels, or are you saying we're the derp?
No, he's saying that those were the derp. Okay, so now I have to, because I forgot what it was. Hold on a second. Let me I picked up a
nice work, Joe.
So I'm trying to go into my orders so I can figure out what I had. I have a. I could probably just go in the other room and look at it faster. I could be going and looking for it. No, it's not that one. Thought it was, but it's not. Shit. I'm gonna have to go look in the other room. I don't remember what it was now. It wasn't a techniques. It was one similar to that. It was a so a blue tack 2P in the cartridge. Yeah, mine's got a red. Drive belt takes the jitters out of the motor, and that's why DJ Technics are so expensive. Yeah, direct drive motor that's stable. Yeah, I forgot what mine was. I have to go look at it, to be honest, because I've been buying a lot of stuff and I can't keep it all straight. I got Marshall speakers as my monitor speaker. I got Marshall speakers for my music in here. In my living room, I got Clippage speakers off of my turntable in there, and also for my streaming and stuff like that. So I have to go look for it. Marcus missed an entire day of conferences once because of time zone confusion. Whoops. Kids under 16 are getting booted off social media as of Wednesday in Australia. I heard about that.
Yep, it started to hit the news. There's a guy in England calls himself Cyber Waffle, and he's been
Yes.
talking about this for a long time now.
Yeah, so Cyber Waffle, I've followed him since he started that channel, and I actually followed some of his gaming streams. At Cyberboy, some of his gaming streams, because he was just an entertaining person. And when he started taking on conspiracies, I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. And I had to go look through my subs to find out who he was, because there's a lot of gamers that are subbed that I'm subbed to because my daughter likes watching gamers. And I had to figure out who it was. When I saw him, I'm like, I know this guy, and I couldn't remember who he was at first. And someone in, I think it was somebody in Discord told me who it was. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And when I was looking at that, yeah, the Protected Children Act bullshit is, for the digital ID, passport, whatever the shit they want to call it, it's all ridiculous. It's just completely nuts.
Yeah, those glasses give them away, don't they?
Yep. And he interviewed a few people too. I mean, he's interviewed a few. Can't remember who he interviewed at. I mean, I watched so much shit I can't keep track of it all. Yeah, but yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, no, but I remember watching one of the things he talked about. There's a company called Ofcom. They're kind of like a quasi-government organisation in the UK. They own the businesses that benefit from that legislation going through there. And I've got a feeling that they've been lobbying UK, Canada, US, and Australia, and potentially part of EU as well.
Wow.
So that seems to be becoming a thing. Yeah. All right, so that's contributed to what I believe is happening here now with the under 16s can't have social media account.
So I'm conflicted on this, and I'll tell you why. Because as a parent, I think that social media is a detriment to kids growing up who get addicted to things like likes and the cyberbullying and all this other stupid shit that goes on. And I don't think it's a good thing to have. But at the same time, I like the fact that that they should have something like, to be able to have access to it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword for me, because I see the value in it, but I also don't see the value in some other parts of it. And Sarah Jones, I just found it. I have the U-turn orbit in walnut, because I like walnut. And that is a very cool thing. Actually, here, I'll show everybody what it looks like. That's what I have. So that's my play toy. And I love listening to blues on it because it's entertaining. But yeah. Whoops, I just closed the wrong fucking window. Jesus Christ. Dan, come on, you're a streamer for God's sake.
Yeah, speaking about stream, I might need a short break, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna play Dougal's song here because we were talking about Kevin and all the stupid shit that was going on. So Dougal, if you're here, I'm gonna be playing your song. I'm gonna go get a refill and a nature break. What's that?
I was just thinking, I thought I saw Dougal in here a bit earlier.
Yeah, I think he was. I closed my chat. Jesus Christ! I closed the wrong window. I closed my chat dock. This is perfect. I love.
Yeah, so
it's a dumb shit that I do on a daily basis. What can I say? All right, let me do this. Let me mute myself because you guys are getting good. There we go. Because I have a glass platter.
Right.
It's an acrylic platter, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh. There's
Yeah,
Dougal.
one was aluminium and the
Cool.
one.
All right, let's put this on full screen. I'm going to change this to full screen here. We're going to play Dougal, and we're going to go do a nature break and get a refill, and we'll be right back.
The doctor said I'll come up with a plan. The man didn't like it, so he got up and ran. Don't deal with demons is what he said. He trashed it all, tried to knock it on the head. But watch out now, it's still alive. The doctor's making waves and dodging all the lies. The flirts better duck out before it's too late. Caught in something that'll seal their fate. Along came Tune and looked it in the eye, said, come on down and we can take it to the sky. We'll talk about the sun and a tall lighthouse. Before you know it, they'll be quiet as a mouse. We prefer to use a Cessna, they said with a cry. Fly on down a beam and spit in your eye. Never mind that the errors will abound and the plans from someone who's not around. We can talk a load of nonsense and make it by. No model, no clue, just pie in the sky. Got a week's grace to straighten out the plan. One went missing, never made it to the clan. Diagrams, PowerPoint, blind faith and charts. Forget the formulas and the other major parts. The doctor wasn't pleased and he made it clear. This isn't how things are done around here. Listen up, boys, this ain't gonna fly. Close them all down in a wink of an eye. So went the run of a grand design and ended more ridiculous than sublime. Yeah, that was the end of their time to shine. Left muted and reduced to holding up a sign.
I still have it. Fun times. Dougal, I love that. That is like the perfect song for this shit. Waiting on Cope to get back here and I'll bring him back on screen. Yeah, it's there's been a lot of derp going on. Some of it directed at me, which I be perfectly honest, I don't give a shit. I kind of take a same stance as Matt does on that from Whatcast of like, by all means, have at it. If you think I can become offended, another thing coming. But speaking of that, while on Matt's, oh wait, we got to go back. Let me bring him back here. While on Matt's channel today, DT2PZP0, what the fuck ever, was in there, and he was spouting off his normal stuff. Now, he's not your typical flurf asshole. He's not in there like Democ or some of the other idiots who show up and start spouting their things and just, you know, kind of just, they're not like Dick Wayne where they distract from every fucking thing in the world. They're literally, he's in there just talking some stuff, and he can talk about other things besides flat earth, which is interesting because, you know, that doesn't happen very often. So so I invited him saying, hey, if you want, we can have a conversation on my channel. And Matt offered to even mediate, you know, in case I become too much of an asshole. And so I told him to send me an email. I put the email in chat, and I'm waiting to see if he hears back. He said Monday to Wednesday works best for him. Maybe we'll have somebody on during one of those days. Maybe we'll talk to a flurf. Supposedly he talked to Reds, and they were talking about horizons and stuff like that. To be perfectly honest, I can do the math all day, but it's not necessary to debunk flat earth. It's going to be very simple. And if DT is going to be watching this stream for whatever reason, come with claims. Put on your big boy pants, make some claims, and don't hide behind we're not allowed to know because of the Bible or something like that. And let's talk about some stuff, and let's see what happens. I'm going to attempt to be on my best behavior. I don't usually do debates. This is going to be a conversation. And it's going to be pretty mild mannered. So I'll have the rum to offset the derp, and you know, we'll see what he has to say. I told him to bring his best evidence, so we'll see what happens. When I was in college, the Reggae Planer 1 was the BC's. It still is, algorithm, believe it or not. I almost got that one. It had a glass platter, and you needed to flip it at regular intervals. Yeah, so the acrylic one's supposed to offset that, but I'm still flipping every once in a while because that's just how I am. But it looks like it's frosted glass, so it's really cool. But it's acrylic, so it's a lot lighter. Should have made it a little bit longer for toilet bricks. Yeah, Dougal, just like 30 more seconds to 3 minutes is like the golden time for me to run to the bathroom and come back. But worst case is we can always, I'll put on a CMS play playlist to get those too. Lenny Lear says it's flat. Okay, sure. Are you a flat earther then? I'm curious. I'm curious to see what it is that you believe in, how you got into it, and what you think the best evidence is of flat earth. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess it's going to be some variation of we see too far. That's just my experience. What can I say?
Hey, Lenny. Yeah, so what do you got to tell us?
I mean, if you're on Discord, we can have you come on up and you can have a conversation. If you want, I can put a Zoom link in. We can have another conversation. Whatever works for you, bud. I'm sure Cope wouldn't mind stepping down for a little bit, but if you're on Discord, you can have a conversation with both those. Don't worry, we don't gang up. Okay. I'm not about a debate.
Much.
It's about more like, what is it? I try to understand what it is you believe, why you believe that, and what you think counts as evidence. And I'll tell you why I think you're wrong. Because the one thing that I have learned more than anything else, whether it's listening to Dr. Blitz, listening to Reds, listening to, just anybody, is that the standard of evidence between a confirmation bias and a refutation is very similar to the Brandolini principle. It's asymmetrical AF. Yeah, I got a photo of Earth, Lenny. It's from 1972 on film in Houston. Have actually seen it. You can too. I tell you what, Lenny, here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me, like I asked, why you think it's flat. What is your best evidence? Don't come asking me to say prove the globe because let's see, what is it now? Correct me if I'm wrong, Cope. It's going to be like, well, the observational standard is that we see it's motionless and flat, and therefore any claim on the contrary has to be proven, as opposed to the burden of proof is really on the ones that are against the consensus. And I hate to break it to you. The consensus is it's a globe.
Yeah, just some of the things you can look at. If you watch what the stars do, they don't behave like they're on a flat plane. That is absolutely clear to me. Being able to see Southern Hemisphere and seeing Northern Hemisphere, I had a chance to see Northern Hemisphere. I know that they actually rotate in a certain way. They do not magically swirl around or go around horizontally near the edges.
I've been on the equator where you can
can't-
actually
doesn't matter.
see
both.
You can see both. You can see them rotating different directions, and you see it going over your head at the same time, and how it's straight right over your head and how it spirals in two different directions on the side. That's the advantage of actually going out and going places. Granted, the Navy has to do that. No, I haven't been to the moon, but I have actually sent radio signals to the moon, bounced off the moon, and received my own signals. Now, I'd go into the technical aspects of that, but I can tell you the actual distance, just what it says it is, because it took 2.5 seconds for that, actually 2.56 seconds for that to get to me. Now I have that, and I have the distance to the moon using the speed of light. And there's nothing you can do about that because there's no firmament between the two. And how do I know it was the moon? Well, simple. When the moon moved, I lost my return signal.
Want to come and join us, Lenny? I'll give you the link in the chat here.
Oh, and Lenny, you can laugh all you want about the radio to the moon and the radar to the moon, and doesn't matter because you know what? The fact of the matter is you haven't done it. You can't refute it. There's nothing you have that can refute what thousands of amateurs have done for decades. Come on, click the link. Let's not be a little bitch. You still haven't provided what was the one proof that you think is the best proof that made you a flat earther. That's all I asked for. And here's the thing. See, there's people like me and like Cope and like people in the chat who actually do shit in our everyday lives. So I had to deal with a radio horizon every day. I had to know the distance between two ships. I had to know the distance between planes. I need to know how radio propagation works every day. Now, I took that and leveraged it into a 25-year career in telecommunications, which means that undersea cables prove the Earth is a globe, because otherwise we'd be 25% further if it was on a flat Earth, specifically LA to Sydney, which I have access to from work and can test because there's a latency measurement that they have to abide by. It's part of what they call the service level agreement. And that latency is based on distance.
I notice he's pretty quiet all of a sudden.
Yeah, probably because he just came in to troll and left.
Actually, let's just check if he's still around.
Well, he'll
Yeah,
still
he's
be
still hanging around.
He'll
It's
still
just
be in
gone
there for
quiet.
5 minutes after he left anyway, just because that's how YouTube works. But tell you what, if he's not clicking the link and he's not doing what I asked, which is just what is your proof? That's it. I just wanted one proof. Just what's your best proof? Is that so much to ask? No, he wants to come in and ask questions. If he does not provide a proof, then everyone gets to play whack-a-troll. I don't mind.
Oh, Lenny, do you have a channel? I'm going to go and have a look at his channel.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let's go see
anything
what
interesting?
kind of channel he has.
It's got playlists, including
YouTube's
somebody
songs.
called Nora.
Hey,
And
okay.
yeah,
Now, Lenny, you and I can talk about something because you and I both like Nora Jones. Okay, so I don't need to be an asshole about this. We can have an actual conversation about something besides flat Earth if you want. We can talk about Nora Jones, modern blues. What do you think? We can talk about the intricacies of building a cigar box guitar and the math that goes into that. God, the
yeah,
silence
Finch
is
is
deafening. It's killing me.
it is. It is, yeah. You went as far as what a big head, and that seemed to be the loss from him.
Algorithm, you're speaking my language because let me tell you something. A girl I was dating, her cousin is a drummer and play with some really big bands. I'm not going to go into who they are. He got us backstage during the concert. And what I mean by backstage, I actually mean the side of the stage. So we're watching Tedeschi trucks from the side of the stage. Within arm's reach of me is Derek Truck's guitar stand, where there is a very blue guitar that is autographed by B.B. King and Buddy Guy. I was trying to figure a way if I can walk out with that without getting busted by security. Here's the cool thing. They were in between songs. They were doing their, their solo acts and stuff like that. So Susan Gassy came over, asked how we were doing, gave me a big hug, asking if I was enjoying the show, asking if I played or did anything like that or sang or anything like that. And I told her I've been following her since she was a solo act. I remember her first concert I went to was at the Hat Shell in Boston on July 4th, and it was amazing. And we talked about that for, about a minute, and then, she had to go back. And then Derek Trucks came over and shook his hand. I'm like, can I have that guitar? And he kind of laughed, said no. He said if I had something for him to autograph, he'd happy to sign a guitar that I had, but he wouldn't give me his guitar, and for valid reasons. But Tedeschi Trucks
so
is
Lindsay
one of
made
my
a comment.
favorite bands, to be honest.
Yeah, just looking at the comments there, Lindsay's made the comment that he came in hot and then he ran away.
Yeah.
It must be time to play Bravely Run Away again, is it?
Oh, yeah, I think it is. Hold on, let's pull that up. See, and like I said, when we talk about things like collabs, like I got to collab on a few things with CMS and Arnold, and because of that, I now get sneak peeks because it might be something that that we want to use on the channel or whatnot, and he's also asking me to look at stuff, but it's I love collaborating with those guys. I love coming up with some of the stuff, and the greatest thing I love about this is that CMS gives me credit every time. Like he tags me in it and says collab with Max and Unfornicated or someone else in Unfornicated. And it's like, you know what? You don't have to do that, but I appreciate that you do. So let's see. Let's go ahead and play A Brave Flat Earther Ran Away because it's fitting.
Or measurements
Whoops,
could ever
hold on.
make him.
There we go. I hate that autoplay bullshit while it's highlighting. Run,
He
baby,
feared
run.
not facts nor science, nor physics' mighty lore, nor any maths that dared suggest a planet with a core. No formulas or measurements could ever make him sway. He wasn't scared of evidence. Brave flat earther. Oakley wasn't frightened of peer review or tests, nor star trail curves or orbital paths that rarely take a rest, of photos from the ISS or ships that dip away, or laser lines that bend with Earth. Brave flat earther. Flatzoid wasn't worried by perspectives, wicked schemes, nor David Kane by flight paths crossing continents and streams. Iron Dork feared nothing, not a diagram nor why, and JJ boldly claimed he'd win, then bravely didn't try. But when a simple question came, show your model, just explain, they heroically declared, good sirs, we must depart again. For when a pesky fact appeared, they boldly ran away, and live streams wrapped up suddenly. Brave flat earther, brave flat earther ran away. No, we didn't! Bravely ran away, away. Not true at all!
Yes, it's
When logic reared its ugly head, they bravely turned their tails and fled. Fake news! Yes, brave flat earthers turned about. We never! And gallantly they chickened out. Bravely taking, we never did. To their feet they beat a very brave retreat. Debate dodgers? Lies! Bravest of the brave. Flat earther. We never.
Again, if you're here and you're not subscribed to Conspiracy Music Studios, you need to be. And that way you don't have to wait for us, like Tune or myself or anybody else to play the music. You get it yourself right in your inbox. So yeah, Flurf came in hot and went off hot. Yeah.
Yep, he didn't last very long, that's for sure.
I remember them had I missed his comment about Tedeschi trucks. Derek melts your face off and Susan comes along and heals it. You're not lying. The girl I was dating at the time, she loves music, but she never really she didn't really play anything. I was showing, like, we were watching a couple blues bands, someone playing slide guitar, and before we went to Tedeschi trucks. And she was always wondering why I was looking at screens when we were so close to people, or why I was looking at a guitar player, not the singer or anything else like that. And I'm like, I'm watching him play. And then when we were watching Derek Trucks and his slide guitar, I was like, this is why I watched him. And she started watching. She goes, oh my God, I never noticed that. And just watching his fingering and the slide and everything else, it's just, it's amazing to watch. And I happen to build cigar box guitars as a hobby. So to me, I can't play a single fucking chord, but what I can do is do math. So I do the math based on the material of the box, the volume of the box, and I know what sound that I want it for. So I know what volume I'm looking for and what material I'm looking for. So fun stuff. Thank you, Joe Black, coming in great. Thank you, as always. Dougal says, I think CSM was very generous with the body images. Yeah, that goes without saying. Although the one of JJ running away in the trailer park, on par. That one was I think that was pretty accurate.
Yeah,
so yeah,
the one of us made me laugh.
So yeah, I mean, we might have a Flurf on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not gonna try to clown him with math, even basic math or anything like that. I want to have an actual conversation, and I want to explore this limited vision that he talks about and stuff like that. I want him to see if he can steelman his own argument, so to speak. Does he have math behind it that he can show? Is it going to be Shane's model, which uses a very specific wavelength? Is he going to use some other things that are not math? Or is it just going to be all feelings and vibes? In which case, to be honest, what I'd like to do, and I don't mean to do this as shaming or anything like this, I am genuinely curious. I don't know what the requirements are in Australia, UK, or any place else. I only know what they are here. And here, for high school, you have to take 3 years of math and 3 years of science. And your senior year, you can have all electives of like underwater basket weaving or what the fuck else you want. It doesn't matter as long as you have all your requirements. So my elective, I took physics. My elective, I took pre-cal. Because I like math and I like science. But even as a freshman in high school, as a 14-year-old, my first year in high school, I was already in classes with upperclassmen. You know, they started in Algebra 1. Meanwhile, I'm starting in Geometry and Algebra 2. So I'm curious to see the level of math that he, you know, that he received and the level of science that he received as far as education goes, because I'm genuinely curious. Is this a case of U.S. minimum requirements failing, or is this an individual failing?
So actually we were discussing this a while back with the prediction from Carl Sagan, where he brought up the concept that we have an education system which is watering down the requirements.
Yep.
Now we're seeing a similar thing here in Australia. I was in year 11 when I first got introduced to calculus, yet it could have been introduced before that. So everything up to the end of primary school, what we call we've got these tiers of primary school, secondary school, then you go into your tertiary education, that's universities and your TAFEs. But yeah, calculus didn't get introduced unless you crossed over to a senior year at high school.
Right, that's when I took it, yeah.
It's just secondary.
And the same thing with physics. Like I came in as a freshman taking biology. My second year was chemistry. Actually, I think it's only 2 years of science requirements, if I remember correctly, because in my third year was anatomy and physiology, and in my fourth year was physics. And in my math was geometry as a freshman, first year. Second year was algebra 2. Third year was trig, and fourth year was pre-cal.
Yeah, no, then I joined the Air Force. No, the only math I needed after that was just the stuff I needed for work.
Yeah.
So we focused on anything to AC/DC. So all your AC you had to know sine and cos. You barely touched tangent in there. What else was there?
It's basic algebra as
Looking
well.
at the
Is
power?
all we were doing, really.
Yeah, it's just basic algebra once you get to that point.
And some geometry,
You
maybe,
didn't
but
need a
that's
lot of
about it.
math. Yeah,
You want to
And
know
I
where I
didn't
found the
need to
most
use
use for
any-
my geometry in my service?
way.
On a pool table when drinks are on the line. Playing billiards.
Yeah, that
That's
will
what I use the
motivate
most
you.
geometry in my service time. I need to get up for a moment. I'm going to be right back. So, Cope, entertain the crowd here. Did
Entertain the crowd.
I get far enough to study what? Eigenvalues and eigenvectors? No. I didn't. So I didn't go to university and go into actual calculus. It was pre-calculus where we started going into derivatives and stuff like that. And also, by the way, this is more than 30 years ago, so pardon my memory. It's more like an introduction to calculus. How to derive things and applying everything you learned from geometry and trigonometry and the proofs and stuff like that, and how to basically derive the proofs and things like that. So it was really an introduction into calculus. So that way, when you got into university and took calculus, you already had the first 6 months down, and you already hit the ground running. So that's what it was going to. CSA is going to grab a snack. Good idea. Bring something for everybody. So in high school, CSA took 4 years of maths. We call it math here, not maths, even though it's 4 different maths that I took. His grade 9 science, 2 years of bio, physics, and chemistry. We took a chemistry course because of the scheduling mess up. So CSA and I had a very, very similar background as far as the amount that we took. So maybe the order was different because I took chemistry as a sophomore, and I learned that I don't do well in chemistry because the amount of detail involved in that was just a little outside of my attention span. Not gonna lie. I go in linear algebra. The cool part of linear algebra is transforming coordinate system. Did not ever get into that, and it's something I wanted to learn, actually, and something I still want to learn now. So I'm going to actually start looking into that because the eigenvalues, okay, and is linear algebra. Yeah, so I'm going. That's something somebody had said I should take, and I forgot to write it down. So let me actually do that now, because somebody like Petey who can run rings around me is I need to get caught up here, and I'd love to transforming coordinate system sounds like something useful in my well, not in my everyday life, but at least in my YouTube life. Look, I'm still trying to figure out what a cation is. Yeah, I know it's a cation, by the way. Don't at me. I'm making a joke.
Yeah, that's another source of confusion for them. They all see the word and they mispronounce it and immediately go down the wrong path with it. The nutters. Who's that latest one on that's popped up on X? What's that guy's name? Keat.
Who on X?
I'm not on X at the moment. Keat put one up and he was saying he's obviously reposted something someone put up and saying the entire TP was faked, and then Dave McKeegan's responded to him.
Oh boy.
And Dave gave him quite a bit of information about how dumb he was. He said, look at the shadows. The shadow links change. You can't do that in a studio, you nut.
All right, Sarah, I'm going to address your comment here in 1 minute. I need a minute to fix something. I'll be right back.
Yep. I've been asked to take the reins for a moment. So, yeah, most of the people I've met since I joined this community about nearly 3 years ago, it's actually been really interesting. Some of the people are incredibly good at their math, a lot better than I am. This has made me go looking at things again. I've spoken to a guy called Mordwan. You might know him as Sea Lion Prime. He's actually very good with his math.
Mordwan is a great guy and a PhD level statistician.
Yep. I know, he's a really good guy. So my experience with him was actually really great. We started discussing time dilation, and then I went on from there to look more closely. As I went deeper into it, it's getting harder. I've got to go back and review matrix math and a few other things so I understand what the Einstein tensor and a couple of other things were inside there. And I think there's an eigenvalue in there somewhere as well. So I started coming from the bottom back up to try to get the math back in a position where I could actually understand it. But the time dilation itself actually makes sense without any of the background.
It intuitively makes sense. So I learned about time dilation from Roger Ledwell. No, I'm kidding. Mordwan is a great guy. I mean, he and I have talked about a couple different projects he was curious on, because he knows my radio background and stuff like that. So he was very pushing me to do Battle of the Beams and present on Discord and stuff like that. So I know him from X. I know him from Discord. Some of his friends or people I knew from X. That's how I got introduced to him. Great guy, very smart. And there's times where he talks and I'm like, dude, you need to slow the F down, because I need to look up some of the things he just said, because I found that as I've gotten older, it's like I've gotten dumber. Now, that goes without saying, because as you get older, you get dumber. But the problem is like all the math that I learned, I've tend to have forgotten because I don't use it. I know all the math that I use daily, like, speed of light and things like latency and things like that. I use basically algebra throughout the day. And, that's it, so 25 years of forgetting everything and now trying to remember it, it's like my brain just goes into it just shorts out. I go into full-on stroke mode. Okay, so something Sarah said and I want to address. So Sarah says, I'm a high school dropout. They wouldn't admit I'm dyslexic, so I hadn't done enough coursework to be entered into the exams, but I still have to come to school, so I got a job last year. Sarah, you know what? And that's like one of my challenges growing up was that I'm ADHD. And the problem is that when I was growing up in the 80s, ADHD was as the hyper kid and everything else. So I was hyper, but I would just bounce a leg. And for them, it was supposed to be like an attention deficit disorder, right? You can't pay attention. Well, most of my things was I could pay attention in school. I just never did homework because I was acing tests. If I'm getting an A in a test, why do I have to do homework? That's my mentality. This is why I got a lifetime of B's and C's and couldn't go to university and join the military. But the irony is that I think there's a lot of disservice done from the misunderstanding of things like dyslexia, like ADHD and stuff like that, that turned very bright individuals away from school and away from actually helping them into what do we got to do to get them out kind of mentality. And it's a shame. It really is. It's something I wish that they would correct. But oh, and now everyone's like, we got the joke. Okay, I know, but sometimes people don't. There's like channel lore and there's other channel lore that gets brought into the channel. And I don't always know where the crossover is. So sometimes I feel the need to explain it. Like if you watched any of my videos and you heard the term cocaine fueled Norwal, you'd kind of remember what it was from. But if I say Cation, unless you watch Tune and specifically one very bad debate that was absolutely terrible, it could have been measured on a Richter scale, the amount of derp on that end. Yeah, that was the guy claiming to be an engineer or something. Oh, see, look, Marcus is using canned package. See, that's working smarter, not harder. Way to go, Marcus. That's what I try to do. I have a picture somewhere of a matrix coordinate transformer. All electromechanical. Really? That sounds painful.
In the chat, I haven't seen our flat earther come back, so I think he's currently gone.
He ran away. Now, everyone knows the policy on this channel is we don't like a flurf. We don't, we give everybody a chance to voice their opinions. We celebrate our differences here, unless they're assholes. And you all know me well enough and you all have wrenches enough to say when someone's being an asshole. And I trust you guys all enough. But in this case, if Lenny decides to come on back, go ahead, play whack-a-mole. I don't care because he is a coward with no convictions and can't follow simple directions. So.
Yeah, I think he made 3 comments the whole time, just 3 comments and he was gone. It's funny, the invite to come in and actually talk to someone, they usually bolt.
So Sarah Jones, okay, a stone is still better than what I've got. So Sarah brings up a case. So she talks about her physics teacher was disappointed because in the mock exams, she got the highest grade in class. But he said, I can't put you in for the exams. You're too far behind. That was me, Sarah. You and I just, for different reasons were there. It's like I was acing every test, but I wasn't getting A's because I wasn't doing homework because I was like, why do homework if I don't have the attention span and I'm getting A's on test? And of course, the one time you don't get an A on test, it screws you up entirely. So that's why I was destined to enlist in the military. And it was a family business. So what do you think? CSA said, never did much with tensors. They just sound stressful. Yeah, no shit. Just saying it sounds stressful. Tension, tensors. I mean, when someone says tensors, the first thing I think of is tension, just because it's like, it just makes me like, I don't know, I get nervous all of a sudden. The Cation debate was almost as good as the guy calling himself Billy Badass, not understanding that B is a German hard S. Yeah, it's a double S. That's even better. Yeah. The use of so-called characters for their names are absolutely hilarious because they don't understand what it is. So he is basically silly sad ass at that point, but in German form. It's fucking hilarious. I took 4 years of German. I can understand it. I speak like a 3-year-old. Now,
And I'll just use a wordplay in the chat. Sorry,
well,
I
it's
said
okay.
it's another fine mess.
I like wordplay and iterations. Alliterations and me get along great. Here's a funny story for you. As a freshman in German, okay, I was 4'11", and I was also in ROTC at the time, and all my friends and I sat together. My best friend at the time was almost 6 foot. So we had to go up onto the, this is back when we had chalkboards. We had to conjugate verbs, right? You know, based on, you know, he, they, she, it, whatever, you know, all those things, plurals. And that motherfucker would write it at the very top of the screen, at the top of the board would start with. So me being 4'11", like a full foot shorter than him, had to pull a desk over so I could stand on the desk to be able to reach the top part. And it was a race too. So you had to, like, you know, who got done the most and, you know, got done faster, and that, you know, the instructor would say a verb and we all had to write them down, and whoever got done first moved on. And of course that asshole would always write it at the top of the one, knowing I was right behind him and that would be the next one in line. I still hate that bastard to this day, even though he's still my best friend and I still talk to him daily. Not daily. I talk to him maybe monthly.
Funny how someone can be your best friend, but they're like your worst enemy at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because, like, we literally called each other Calvin and Hobbes, because I was literally the little kid and he was, like, you know, he was much taller and bigger than I was. So it was just funny. Calvin and Hobbes, for those who don't know, is a comic strip. Look it up. You'll enjoy it. I have every book made for Calvin and Hobbes is sitting right there in my on my bookshelf. I think I need to spin my camera around a couple of times so you guys can kind of just see the bookshelf behind me. Change the background from this mess to a different mess. Now, I don't do French. Don't even start with me, Marcus. You too, CSA. You guys have to speak French like it's a second language, and because it is. I don't.
Parlez Francois comme une chanson. Best I've got is Parlez Francois comme, but then I'm stuffed after that. Uno's probably end.
The only thing I remember from high school Spanish is that it's not polite to refer to a gentleman as a... See, in my Spanish, is like we offered Spanish in school, but I didn't take it. But I learned Spanglish living in Southern California most of my life. So I learned a lot of the 4-letter words first, or the English translation of 4-letter words, or the Spanish translation of English 4-letter words. Let me rephrase that. And like a lot of what I learned was slang and was not proper, like Castilian Spanish by any means. I speak French like a wild pig. Okay, well, that makes sense. At least you're closer than me. So let's see. Tell you what, why don't we check in with Mike? And why don't we check in with Reds? Let's see what's going on. Are they still going?
NVIDIA broadcast.
Yes.
All right.
How NVIDIA's good at chips.
Pull this across real quick.
Mics or whatever. It's basically
we have
and then this side of the moon is obviously facing the sun.
So it's
right.
so something that I've chatted with them.
The after show. Oh, shit, I got build plane. Hold on.
I'm happy with
Okay.
it. So I'm just playing.
So we got
you can do like
I have like
all right. So we got the after show of Max and Red's Rhetoric. I guess he clowned OTW and moved on. So that's fine. I'm assuming the OTW ran away like a brave flat earther and didn't learn anything. Although Red's Red's demolishing
I mean, I do have, you know,
of Demont goes down as my highlight of the year for me personally.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. Let's see what Mike's doing. Mike has an interview with a flat earther. Is he still talking?
So like, and so once you flatten all that back out,
I mean, I can go. I can go to the north.
Map's gonna get real crazy.
Like, I can go
Although
to
I
the
don't
North
see the
Pole,
flat earther anywhere.
and then we can.
Yeah,
He's run off.
And then we
but
can.
that's still not.
No, he's there
still not
talking.
quite gonna.
I don't know where the moon
Okay.
is.
Like that's not a celestial sphere around you, is it?
Well, this would be. This would be
Oh,
the
Jesus
celestial
Christ. A celestial sphere only works on a flat plane. Okay, all right, that's enough derp already.
That level of derp is just downright stupid.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Cygnus.
I just can't
Oh,
frame
sorry,
it
go
any
ahead.
other
I'm
way.
sorry.
That's all right. What have we got?
I'm-
Cygnus.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, Sig.
I'm used to just reading chat. I getting used to the idea of having a guest. It's weird. I'm used to just monologuing, and I gotta forget sometimes to shut the fuck up. Hey, Cygnus. Yeah, all the same damn time. There's a time zone issue there. Namely, I don't know how to tell time or convert time. So yeah, you get all three of us in the same place. Sarah, look, you can't use logic like that. That has no place in this channel. You keep using logic like that, we're gonna have to ban you. CSA says my province is the only bilingual province. I usually work the elections here and have to hello, bonjour, and last year I worked with 2 former French teachers. One used to be a neighbor. Yeah, the bilingual provinces, and I forget, is Quebec the specifically French and English is just like what people speak, but the official language is French? I don't remember. I think it's French. I need to learn more about Canada if we're going to make them our 51st state. What do I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to the eastern side, I think that is predominantly a French-speaking side.
Yeah. So,
but I know I've been to Vancouver and the British Columbia side, and that's predominantly English, but people still speak in a certain amount of French.
yeah, Quebec is officially French. Okay, I thought so. And then, okay. You need to enunciate that a little better. You need to choose your words a little better. Just saying New Brunswick is by is leaving a lot to interpretation with this group. You should make sure you put lingual at the end of that.
Yes, bi used to have a specific meaning to Aussies as well, and not the language one, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing for the US. Hold on a second.
I think my wife's home. Some noises upstairs.
Are you playing games on a laptop? No. Okay.
G'day again, Liv.
Hold on, sorry. Let me mute this real quick.
Oh, okay, gee. Wow.
Sorry, Liv came in to ask some questions real quick, so I had to parent for quickly what's going on.
Yeah, understand. Every time I have the granddaughter over here, it's the same thing. Oh, what do you want, midget? No, it's actually, I don't call her midget. I'm just joking.
I call mine
Just
Munchkin,
joking.
even though she's 5'5". So her mom's 5'1", maybe 2. I'm 6 foot. She's at 5'5" at 14. So
Yeah, so she's going to take her dad's genes for the height then.
yeah. So my twin sister is 5'10". So Olivia does not want to be 5'10" because she hears my sister complaining about finding jeans that fit because they're not long enough. So she's happy with average 5'5", 5'6", and being there, so she can always find jeans. And I'm okay with that. Because her mom complains because she's shorter that she can't find jeans either. So go big. As you move east in Ontario, where I am, there are more and more French speakers. Yeah, I'm sure that's how it is. There was a company called Brunswick that made bowling stuff. Yeah. Geek says she's the same height as my short ass. Well, and it's funny is I did an interview with Tiny Captain, and for those who know who it is. I didn't do it on channel. I was going to stream it, but decided not to. I just recorded it, and it's going to be part of a long form video for Rogue Waves because he had some experience with it. And he was talking about the fact that he was doing survival training, so he has to do this annually. And he's 5'4", and he never has to, they never have a suit his size. So as soon as he jumps in the water, the first thing it does is fills up with water because it's not his size. It's like 3 sizes too big. So we were kind of laughing about that because it basically turns him into an anchor and makes survival suit training that much more difficult for him on a yearly basis. But yeah, that's...
I know Tiny through a few interactions. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And it's funny, after he got done recording, he goes, yeah, I don't really talk on camera much. I have self-esteem problems. I'm like, dude, it's just us talking. You want to do it again? We can do it again. You already know I'm going to ask you and stuff. He goes, no, it's fine. He goes, but if you want to work on more stuff, let me know. I'm like, no, same thing goes. You want to work together and collab? I'm happy to. I'm part of his Discord server too. And he's a great guy. I love chatting with him just because he's, I'd like talking about non-derp stuff with him, like, talking about sailing and, what it's like in his environment and stuff like that. So he's done everything from like seagoing tugs to fishing vessels and stuff like that. And, my experiences on an aircraft carrier, which is decidedly bigger.
Yeah, I remember actually chatting with him one of his trips. He was going across the Atlantic, and he said he saw a rogue wave. The outside lights caught this wave. Everything was running a certain one. This rogue wave just came in, broadside him, and damaged the doors on the side of the ship.
Yeah, that was what we were talking about.
They were above deck.
And he said like the first thing he noticed was the outboard lights, which are usually like what they call sodium lights. They're very bright. He noticed that all the outboard lights were he could see them all inside the bridge, which means that the outside lights were reflecting off the water. So that's how tall that wave was. But yeah, we were talking about that and stuff like that. He's actually doing an around the world trip in 80 days. He's leaving from Denmark and going to Korea via the Panama Canal to drop off a fishing vessel. And then he's flying home from there. So literally doing an around the world trip.
Yeah, I think he came through New Zealand. So I missed seeing him because he was supposed to come to Brisbane and then everything was, not too late, I've got to go. He doesn't get the time at the end to actually relax.
Yeah.
Well,
he spends half a year at sea, basically. I mean, you got to go where the contracts are.
Yeah, from what he's told me, it's actually quite good income for him because he usually just takes ships from the port where they're built to the port where they're owned.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a great gig. I told him, let me know when he is a communications guy. I'll be happy to join him. I don't know if I could do 80 days though. I might piss off some people being on for 3 months. But I actually considered for a time joining research ships and after I got out of the Navy and doing stuff because I had my security clearance and I had communication background. I figured, it'd be worthwhile to do that. And then I ended up starting, dating a girl that got very serious and ended up marrying her, and that idea went out the window very quickly. I love being at sea, but that's just me personally. I did come to near Washington, D.C. when I was about 4 for 2 months, as I have American family. That's the nearest I've been. Oh, okay. Well, Sarah, if you make it up to New York, then let me know, and we'll grab a drink. We'll grab dinner. You can tell me all the shitty stuff that I do and how to get better, and I'll appreciate it. Marcus is like, I'm from the UK originally, been back a few times. And Sarah's comment is, I've only really left a few times.
Yeah, I seem to recall the first time I encountered Sarah, I think it was on here. And I remember a comment, and she's actually come over and subbed me as well.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You actually see the same faces pop up in all the different channels when we're sort of talking about each other or to each other at different points.
Yeah, it's kind of that way with you and I on X too. We end up being in the same streams, you know, like we cross over into the different debunking BS, and you know, we each have our pet flirts that we want to smack around. Here's an idea. Of all the ones you dealt with on X, who do you think is like the most insufferable, the one that annoys you like just the most?
Ooh, there's a few in there.
Yeah, I got a
There's
few
that guy
too.
M88.
What's that one?
That guy M88's one of them.
Oh,
that guy M88.
TM.
Yeah, or TM.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's him. The other one is calls himself Brock Riddick. Yeah, and I've nicknamed him Brick Ridiculous.
Yes.
And if you see my little meme, I pop up now and again where it says Brick Ridiculous strikes back.
Yeah, I've seen that a few times. Yeah, he's another one that posts just for whatever. Ghost Gone is another one. He and I did a couple things because he didn't understand a mechanical drawing of a continuation line that he said was for a capacitor for free energy for an antenna. And I'm like, you've never looked at a construction plan your entire life, have you? It's a break line.
Yeah, I did. I did tech drawing when I was at school, so I had to cover the basics of the way you drafted it up, and the techniques you used to show that this line was going on your screen. Yeah, there's a delay, so I keep forgetting about that one. When you're drafting, you actually run a line to a certain point, then you put this like squiggle, and then you go dots, and then you have a little squiggle, and you do it again.
Yep. Yeah, it's called a break line.
That's your continuation.
Or a continuation line.
It's intended to break up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's intended to break up the architecture of the diagram.
Yeah.
All the schematics for electrical things did the same thing. They hit the edge of the page, and you either had a marker to show it was going to go elsewhere, or you actually had that dotted line in it again, just to say that continued on over the page.
Well, so he was taking the idea of a weather vane from like a 1940 something book, and it had that break continuation line, and he said it was for a capacitor, and then he showed an electrical diagram or resistor. I think he said one of the two. I forgot what it was. It's so long ago. And he said it was for that, and I'm like, okay, you're mixing two different diagrams. The rest of this picture is not an electrical diagram, so you're wrong. And B, it's not the same symbol that you think it is. Look at it again, and I got blocked. So yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take them long. Some of us actually take our time to go, how many people have you been blocked by recently? It's like a running tally. Who have been blocked by? Yeah. Actually, one of my early forays into X, I got Marissa Keeland, calls herself See You Later.
Yes. Queen of Flat Earth. Jesus.
Oh, the Queen of Memes. Yeah, she threw up a meme saying something impossible.
Yeah.
The wordplay. And I just jumped on it. Went, just a minute. Showing us that meme means you've got nothing. You have absolutely no argument for what you're saying. And she just disappeared. Didn't block me, but she just disappeared.
Have you heard?
And then there's a...
Wait. Just talk about Marissa real quick. Have you heard that she said Sirius is the North Celestial Pole, and that the Eye of Africa is the southern it's the southern pole, or something like that, or the Southern Pole's in Australia or something like that. Like, I'm like, how can a star that's only up for a season be a celestial pole? Like, explain this to me. So yeah, I mean, that tells you the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah. The other one that was I'm trying to think which one's a real. Oh, the one newest one out now is Keat.
Yeah.
He's a noisy little devil. And he made a comment about Toon. He was saying something about you can see it in his something. I said, see it in his voice. Anyway, I never said that, and I came back to him with the highlight, and he sort of went, "Oh, all right, yeah, you got me there."
Yeah,
So
he's part of that
he's
Brian
sort
Sweet
of
Flat Earth, trying to continue the Flat Earth Fridays Cope group. It's fucking hilarious. Yeah, there's a few people that we'll be running to on X, and actually that's when I first met Copium, was on X, and then started meeting, started seeing him on some of the same chats and stuff like that, and that's where he started making content again, because your old channel was called what, the Casual Engineer, I think.
yes,
Because
it's
I
a
was subscribed to
rebranding.
that
I kept the
channel.
letters. Yeah, TCE. I actually kept the letters, but I changed the name
Okay.
because, well, amongst other things, it wasn't fun. Calling myself Casual Engineer just wasn't fun, because I started getting into debunking. I thought, you know what? This sounds like a much better idea. So I went down this path. Changed the name, made more fun of it. It kind of allows things like this to, take on a meaning.
Yep.
So it's all about having fun with it rather than trying to be serious. But I still talk about serious things. One of my last streams, I actually did talk a little bit about the war. I don't know if you watched that. I was very careful to not to say who was fighting, but everyone knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that you choose your words very directly, and like there's the video that I put out that was a live stream, and then I made the video. The live stream had over 1,000 views. I'm like, I've never had 1,000 views like during a live stream, and it was because of the subject matter. A lot of conspirators found their way into it, I guess, or maybe some people who were interested in this history, but they didn't stick around long. I think when they started realizing that my tone was based in evidence that nobody else took the time to look into. So people are bad because of the evidence, not because of where they're located. So yeah, it was a little interesting. But yeah, so I mean, was subscribed to you as the Casual Engineer. I remember seeing some of your streams. I have to admit, and I'll admit to you and everybody else here, it's like I have not been watching other content creators or even Derp because, except in like small fleeting glances, it's end of year, so I've been swamped. I got some stress going on in my personal life. The company was sold, so we're looking at when it's going to close, whether or not I'm going to have a job afterwards, how long I'm going to have a job afterwards, and whether I need to go look for another job. So I got all these things kind of like piling up. So my time has been kind of unplugged as much as necessary, but I do need to get some long videos out because I am pushing towards those last few subs to get over 500, and I want to do it before the end of the year, just as my own thing. If I don't make it, fuck it, I don't make it, so be it. But I would like to make it, because I have ideas depending on which direction I go into with the channel. I still might do memberships, and I still might do monetize it for super chats, just for no other reason than to I'm not spending my own money on all the stuff for the channel and experiments. So I get to spend when everyone else gets to contribute, and I'll have to do a GoFundMe for it. So even better. No, I think even though the zoo crew is alive and well, it's a shared community. It's a community that I share with Mike and I share with DP, and it's and I love the fact that it's a shared community. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted something else kind of branded for the actual channel. So we're leaning hard into the not so secret society, and I'm thinking about calling members the Unfornicated. So we'll have some merch drops. We'll have some maybe we'll do some badges and stuff like that. But I think it'll be fun. But I will do a challenge coin, I think, at 500 too. And then I'll offer them a discount for everybody else, because not everybody wants a physical thing, but if you do, it'd be cool to have. And I appreciate the fact that people may want it. And Sarah's already signed up, whether or not she remembers it or not, to have a blacked out hoodie like this with the Unfornicated symbol on the back. So I'm holding her to that.
Yeah, actually, I remember when we were working on that one, there's some quite clever ideas shot up the screen on Discord when we were discussing it.
Yeah. Um, I love actually talking about like what direction to go with the channels. Like there's certain people I talk to, like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then I love talking to people like, I need ideas. And there's never a short. Everyone's got an idea. And I love that because it's, I look at this, I mean, I look at this as it's my channel in the sense that I'm on camera, but it's everyone's channel in that everyone contributes and everyone does different things. And I'm very appreciative of them doing that and helping out, whether it be modding, whether it be just chatting, being here on the live stream, or just just hanging out and in Discord and providing ideas of what to work on next and stuff like that. So, and there's a few people I float ideas by, like the whole Unfornicated release has only been floated by one person so far. That was Michaela, because I needed to see if it was worth the right direction going into. And Joe's starting to work in on that too, as my other mod at Discord, the other person who reminds me of these things. And I know that, and don't get me wrong, I know the memberships aren't for everybody. It's not like I'm counting on them or anything like that. It's just, I think badges are cool. And I think being part of something's cool. So that's kind of where I'm leaning at. But again, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I have time to think about it. So even better. So let's see. Holy cow, you guys are still going. Yes, we're still going. We're just shooting the shit. That's all we're really is. Let's see what else. Let's see.
I did notice a comment from Patch regarding my logo. He kind of liked it.
It looks like a weird vacuum tube symbol. Yeah, it kind of does in a way. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's actually a MOSFET, but yeah, it was originally designed off a MOSFET, but
Okay.
MOSFETs look a little bit like valves anyway. So
That's funny.
what else they got coming up?
Now the snow is down. There is more time indoors and more time to make videos. Yeah, CSA, that's the kind of way I'm linking into is it's like it's starting my hibernation where I don't go outside except to walk the dog. And I get bundled up like the kid from A Christmas Story. I look like Pillsbury, I look like the Michelin Man or Pillsbury Doughboy with all the jackets and layers I have because I'm not from the Northeast and my blood still hasn't thickened up enough. So I'm a California kid through and through. So unfortunately, that means cold weather and I don't get along.
Yeah, all the time I've been here in Brisbane, it feels like we're going to be in for about 37 today.
37, so it's like 90, I'd say 100 degrees.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting into that space. I'll just check the local URM net because that's usually fun to watch.
I actually took off her collar.
29. Yeah. It's actually hitting for 29, but I think it feels hotter than that where I am.
Well, and then we were talking about possibility of like as I do this more and I have more people and stuff like that. I'm thinking about Liv wants to go to she wants to go to London, so I figured we'd do a meetup in London. I'd like to do out in do one in Australia where because she wants to go there too. I was like, yeah, we can go for vacation, but we got to take a day and see if people want to meet up somewhere and do stuff. So I think it would be cool to meet up with some of the people in the community. So, have a pint, have some grub, throw some darts at each other, play William Tell with with a glow balloon or something. We'll be good to go.
Yeah. Something else I was thinking of too is Will Duffy. If you notice, he's been trying to learn as much as he can about evolution recently.
I saw that. I notice he's not taking a lot of notes, but I also know that it's recorded so he can go back and revisit it and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that he's like doing it for show. I'm just saying that he's obviously listening at least. He's very quiet. He asks questions at the right spots. And And Erica does a great job of explaining. And it was funny because when she was going over point mutations, I was watching that stream at that point, and I had a break in my calls, and I was watching the point mutations, specifically what she was talking about. And it started me down a rabbit hole because I was starting to wonder, I was like, wait a minute, is colorblindness a point mutation or something else? I kind of found out it's actually based, if it's blue-yellow colorblindness, then it's actually a point mutation. If it's red-green, it's actually a gene deletion from the merger of the X and Y chromosomes and stuff like that during the conception process. So I learned something I didn't know, all because I was watching Erica's stream. Go figure. So it was interesting. I'm still trying to figure out how if it's a positive, negative, or neutral mutation. I'm guessing it goes more neutral than anything else. Although if we were Neanderthals, something tells me I'd be eaten. Because camouflage and I don't go well together.
Yeah, when I joined the military, that we didn't have that much camouflage. It was money for the army. So our uniforms were generally a light blue or a dark blue.
Let's see. Everyone's talking about how cold it is at their places. Yeah, it's fucking cold here. That's all I got to say. I can't do the conversion to negatives, but I can tell you it is. I can't even tell you what it is. It's it's thinking. Oh, 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So whatever that is in Celsius. And
23 Fahrenheit. You're actually at minus.
Yeah, it's minus something.
About minus 5 degrees. I think it'll be about right. Well, my calculator's up in the phone, and I'm using the phone for a camera.
Oh,
I'm not going to get to that anytime soon.
I could easily pull the camera and look at it, but I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, CSA, we got some here. We got about 4 to 6 inches. So then it turned the rain on top of it, which made it a sloppy mess. But luckily, we escaped. Yeah. Geek G is down in Bermuda, where it's nice and toasty right now compared to where I'm at. So
yeah, it's another reason I can get away with wearing this shirt, because it's just simply a lot warmer here at the moment.
Well, I will say this. I am contemplating going to Bermuda, A, because I've always wanted to, and I want to go do some diving, and B, because I found out that that the Gosling's Black Seal black rum is is obviously made there, and Geek G sent me a picture of his liquor store, and I found that there was some very high end black liquor reserves or black rum reserves there. So the exchange rate works, I think, in my favor. So Geek and I might be having lunch at the pub and downing some dark and stormies until we need an Uber or a taxi or whatever they have on Bermuda. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go to London and meet up with people. See if McKeegan wanted to come down, like the other content creators too, like catch up with Matt, and since he's not far in Essex, meet someplace that everyone can kind of get to. I think it'd be fun.
Do you know Creaky?
Creaky?
Do you know Creaky Blinder?
Yeah, I know him. I don't really watch a lot of his stuff, but he seems like a cool guy. I don't know where he is. Isn't he in Wales?
Yeah, he's over in Wales, but he went for a holiday once and he stood on some beach. Started calling out one of the local fleurs because they had it wrong again.
Fancy that. They had it wrong. Who knew?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely shocked. Sorry, I'm starting to turn into a bit of a dry, sarcastic sense of humor again. Look out.
Oh, look, dry humor is what we have here. It's what we specialize in, that and satire. Look, if you can't do a deadpan delivery and you have to laugh at your own jokes, you're not doing it right. That's the way I look at it. All right, so we've been going now for 3 hours. It's 11 o'clock. I think it's time to pack up, and we'll do this again some other time, I think. We'll plan it out a little better, make sure that I'm okay on the right time, day and time, and we'll we'll do something else. I'd like to get into some technical aspects of it because it's like of just things in general. I'll kick around some ideas with you offline. We'll see what we can come up with. But yeah, I love doing collabs. I love working with people. Matt was open to it from Wetcast, so maybe I'll talk to him about doing something. Maybe he'll want to help with the end of the year awards. That might be fun. He's a funny guy, and my deadpan versus his Muppet, it might work well together. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Either way, well, Cope, thank you for being on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for going over some of those things that I did not have the background in, and it was nice to see somebody else be able to explain it. And at the same time, go that much further. Hopefully everyone learned something. Hopefully someone took away something. And if you didn't, that's fine too. If you did, it was strictly by accident. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm going to go ahead and have some rum before I go to bed again. And I got to go walk the dog. So,
So if you do have a question, hit me up on Discord.
Yep.
I'm usually around on Dan's Discord or DP's or sometimes on Mike's. So hit me up.
By all means. Any last words you want to say?
From me?
Yep.
Well, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm freaking hungry.
At lunch.
When it cools off again, I'm going to go out and try to finish mowing the lawns with a spasm in the back. That should be fun.
Well, I'm glad you're able to take a load off and relax a bit and enjoy a little time off before you have to go back to working the yard work.
Yeah, it's about another 3 or 4 hours before it's cool enough again. And right now, I think I'd faint.
Well, then it's time for beer.
It's really good.
Throw back a Victoria Bitters or whatever it is that you drink. Not Foster's, obviously, because no one knows Australian or drinks Foster's.
Actually, cool story before we cut off. I did work for CUB for about 8 months. I went in there as a contractor to bring in a SAP implementation, so that was fun.
CV is who?
CUB, Carlton United Brewery. They own Foster's. They own a number of the beers that were Australian.
Sarah's out of.
So you got to spend time.
Sarah's almost out of grouse whiskey. That's a shame. Sarah, you need to correct that tomorrow. You should never run out of that.
Down the shop.
All right. Well, Cope, it was great having you here. I don't really have any last words except thank you guys all for being here and hanging out. I appreciate it. It's been fun. It's always nice to kind of go over something from a different point of view. I will say our typical sound off. I don't know if Mike is still talking to the Flurf or if Max is still doing after show. Either way, I will see you probably around one of the channels or something during this weekend. Sunday afternoon, we're going to be talking about sunspots, CMEs, coronal mass ejections, and the Carrington event. And we're going to apply it to a modern day scenario. And we'll also make fun of conspiratards before they even start this time. So instead of waiting for them to cherry pick a headline, we're going to jump ahead of them because there's a headline that came out today. So I would like to cover it sooner rather than later. So with that being said, Cope, thanks again. For all of you in chat, sign off as always. Stay uncensored, stay unapologetic, and of course, stay unfornicated. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next stream on Sunday. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.